awesome, sensational evening? Alright, who here wants to be a warrior? A warrior. Who doesn't want to be a warrior? No worries. Okay, so how to go from a warrior to a warrior. How to turn your stress into your success. Here's a good starting point. Write this one down. Very deep, this one. Very deep. You ready? Shit happens. Heard the saying. It's what you make of it that counts. Here's another good starting point. Shit happens. It doesn't happen to you, it just happens. You just happen to be in the vicinity. Sometimes you get the impression that people are throwing it at you. But what do you do with it? That's up to you. You can catch it, plant some seeds in it, grow some flowers, prune those flowers, sell them back to the person who threw them to you, make a profit out of it, and there you smell the flowers, it smells their own shit. It's the way you see it. What are you going to do about it? That's Now, I'm going to do something very unusual tonight. I normally share a little bit of stuff about myself, but tonight I'm going to share a lot of shit about myself. How cool is that? Yeah, it's very cool. Warts and all. Not everything, but most. I even brought some proof. When I came in, Ray said, "You got a PowerPoint tonight?" I said, "Yeah, I've got to prove that I'm not speaking shit." Too often I come across presenters who talk stuff, but they don't do stuff. And they actually haven't done it. So I actually brought the proof of some of the stuff. So you know they're not lots of spinning stuff. In my journey, you can ask. We're talking about stress management tonight, really. And some people say, "Well, what gives you the right to talk about that?" And I don't know. I can share some stuff, and you can make up your own mind, I suppose. I don't have a degree in psychology, a PhD in psychiatric care, or anything like so. But I think overall, I've done a lot of stuff, as everyone has. But tonight, if you can look at the stuff that I've done, maybe take some of the principles, the philosophies out of it, and apply it to some of the shit that's happened in your life, it might be helpful. So take what you need, remember what you don't, because you may need it. Always remember what you don't, because you probably will need it, because you just probably haven't gone down that path yet. And when a fair bit of water goes under the bridge, you tend to experience a lot of things. And I guess the main areas that people get stressed about will probably be four main areas. Number one, there would be wealth or lack of. People don't get too stressed out. I've got too much money. I'm stressed out what to buy. Second area that people tend to get stressed about, and I like to call it challenge, but we'll call it stress for now. We'll turn to the challenge later, is health. Or again, lack of. You say, I'm just too fit. I'm stressed out. Why? I'm too fit. Too lean, too good looking, unbelievably. I can't handle it. I've got to beat these women off with a stick. I have to hide from those men. They keep haunting me. Begging. Number three is relationships. Or lack of. Lack of love. Lack of care. And number four is career, or lack of. Lack of promotion, lack of direction, lack of doing what you absolutely love. So there seems to be the four main areas that people tend to get stressed about. What I do know in my journey, that before every massive success, there seems to be a massive failure. That sets you up for the next massive success. So if you're shy of the stress of failure, you're never going to experience the glory of success. And in my short journey so far in my life, I've experienced massive successes financially, personally, and all sorts of ways that other people could probably only dream of. But underneath it, what they don't realise, I've also experienced massive failures that a lot of people will probably not be prepared to go through. I think when I started if I knew what I had to go through to get what I got, I probably really wouldn't have started. You may have to go through that to get that. So sometimes ignorance is a good thing, and sometimes you don't need to know about the shit that's coming up, because if you knew it's coming up, you probably would stop moving forward. But when it does come, you have basically two choices to make. You know, hide in it or deal with it, one or the other. So let's quickly get started by going around the room and everyone just share, right, what's the major thing or that you probably get stressed about or stressing you or you're thinking about in your life. Is it money? Is it exams? Is it career? Is it kids? Is it what is it? Just go around so we can get a feel. So I can get a feel for where your head's at, so I can maybe be able to adapt a few things to make it specific to you. Who'd like to get started? Prana.
Financial.
Financial.
Financial, especially for this industry.
Financial linked into a business. So business and financial.
Yeah, definitely financial.
Financial. Oh, we're on a money run, aren't we? Yes, financial, yeah.
Yes, financial.
Financial. Yes, we're all too rich, right? We're all too rich. We don't know where to invest all that wealth.
The lack of financial.
The lack of financial. Well, we've got all money. Wow, when I did this session over in Auckland, we had a few mix-ups, but we just said, well, we might turn this into a worth creation seminar. How's that? Did I? Money?
Money and the career as well.
Money and career?
Yeah.
Yep.
Career, health.
Career, health.
Challenge with health, yeah.
Challenge with health. Awesome.
Career, wealth.
Career, wealth. Primarily career and wealth, yeah.
Wealth as well, just
Wealth.
the stage starting to do it.
Yeah. Wealth linked into business. A new venture.
Both from uni.
Wealth and uni exams. Yeah, stress of exams and projects and assignments leaving to the last minute, right? Yeah. Well, if you didn't leave it to the last minute, there'd be no stress, would there? Yeah, you'd hand them in a month early. Yeah?
Yeah, wealth linked into business.
Wealth and business.
Wealth for long term.
Yeah, wealth long term.
Yeah, like career.
Career. Yeah, fantastic. Oh, so we're all in love, right? We're all with our soulmates. Because no love came up for lack of love, or you're all getting too much love. No. All right, so let's have a look at. Let's start with the Worrier. What I'm going to share with you now is some of the challenging experiences that I've had through my journeys, and then I'll go through how I dealt with them and use them to help me catapult myself into a place where I was in a lot better place than where I was. And you can relate to some of this you may not be able to relate to. But what I want you to be aware of is some of the principles that I dealt with personally to overcome some challenges. Which at the time, looking back on, you don't think they're that big, but at the time they're big because we all seem to major in minor things, right? We can make a mountain out of a molehill, and that's half the challenge in itself. I was brought up in Papua New Guinea. There I am over here on the right-hand side, next to my best mate, Peter Murr. And being brought up in New Guinea, it's very protected from Australia at the time, I suppose, and there's a very simple life in New Guinea. And coming into independence New Guinea, we moved to Australia. So straight away, I moved down to the big country, Australia, from New Guinea, which is a third world nation. I never saw TV for the first 10 years of my life. The only technological entertainment was listening to the wireless at night, which I had no interest because you just listen to the ABC from Australia, and my parents would listen to that at 7 o'clock at night. The rest of the time you're out playing in the bush, playing with the natives and having a great time. So it was a magical way to be brought up. So simple, but so physical and creative, because you had to be creative to entertain yourself in New Guinea. So I came down to the school, and obviously the schooling in New Guinea was a bit primitive. So I enter the school in Australia, and all of a sudden I'm the dumbass in the class. I could barely spell. I remember my first spellathon. Out of 100, I got 15 out of 100 words, and I studied for that one. You believe that? So straight away I come into school, and I'm the dumbass in the class. And when a new kid comes in, all the other blokes suss them out. So they start teasing you, see how you handle it. And naturally, the best way to handle it, I thought at the time, was beat the shit out of anyone who gave me a hard time. The other major challenge I had is I had a major, not a minor, I'm talking an absolute major speech impediment. This is how I talk. I wouldn't talk for one, because I knew when I'd talk, it would come out like the other, and that's no exaggeration. I had a major speech impediment, which I developed coming from Australia to New Guinea. I didn't have it in New Guinea, but as soon as I got here, I had it. So everyone used to call me, the spastic. There's the spastic. So then I'd proceed to beat the shit out of them again. So I've always been in fights, and because I ran out of the kids to fight in my grade, I started fighting the kids in the next grade. Right? Because I've beaten all them, they all left me alone. In the next grade, well, at that age, one grade above is like they're all big kids, and before you know it, I'm fighting everywhere. I used to go to speech therapy classes on Tuesday afternoon, so during class, this lady would come and pick me up. I'll walk out, and as I walk out, everyone goes, and I go, got you in the next break. And off I'd go, and I'd go to the speech therapy class at Aspley School, and I'd sit down, and they'd try to do this therapy shit on me and all those sorts of stuff, and I'd draw and do all colour skills, and it made actually no difference at all. So that was a pretty major challenge for a young kid who was only 10 years of age, and constantly in fights. That made me fairly shy. It means I never would say a word. I never opened my mouth, so any form of public speaking or speaking in public was a major no-no for me. So right through to even through uni, I never said anything. Very quiet, reserved type of guy. No, which is quite interesting because, as you know now, I speak a lot. One scary thing is I had to make a speech at my brother's wedding, and I always remember making a speech. I was his best man, and we were at a family do, and all the family were there, my family and my brother's girlfriend's family, and they said, Kerry, do you realise you're the best man? I said, yeah. They said, do you realise what that means? I said, no. He says, that means you have to make a speech. And when they said that, the whole room burst out in laughter, because all of me and my family used to know that I was pretty well capable of making a speech. So I felt I just shrunk to this size in my own family. So I find that was quite fascinating. I moved on, and I got a job as a gym instructor. After a couple of years, I got sacked from that one. I got escorted off. It was at the casino gym. In the casino gym, and there's a gym there, and I got sacked. And when you get sacked, the security come and virtually arm you off and take you off what we called Alcatraz. So I got escorted off the island. The reason why, because I had this business on the side, and the management thought that I was running this conspiracy thing in the gym. The manager of the gym was on holidays, and the CEO of the casino found out that I was running a business out of the gym with permission of the manager, because I was training athletes. But they thought that I was somehow stealing money off the gym. So I walk into the gym, and they got the tape up against my door. You know, like that when there's murder scenes? They got tape up, and all of a sudden security's there. There's two security guards there. I'm going, what's going on, Stuart? Because I'm the guy, I knew more. So Kerry, we have to take you in. So I get escorted up to the CEO's office, and Mr. Ballantyne's sitting there and says, you run this business and blah, 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 and he's accusing me of all this stuff. I said, man, I don't know what you're talking about. He says, well, you're on suspension. You're suspended, and security guards came and took me and escorted me off the island, and then they went through my desk and went through a full investigation. As I was walking off the island, I said to security, he says, man, do you mind if you drop by the canteen so I get my last supper? So that was quite interesting, being sacked. And at that stage, I had some major commitments. And one of the things I had is I had this development company which I worked in a consortium. And at that stage, it was the 87 crash, and I had accumulated close to $750,000. And I share how I did that, but I accumulated, and with the crash, I lost a whole lot. But I lost all the money, $750,000. However, I was left with this major debt, because it's highly leveraged at the time, and debt to the Westpac Bank. and it was a company loan at 21% interest only. So I had to earn $1,200 a week just to cover the interest repayments. So at that stage, when I've lost this basically security, I had this little business on the side, and all of a sudden I'm off the island, full security, escorted off, big investigation, no more money, and my manager's on holidays. She was on holidays for 2 weeks, so she couldn't do anything, because she's the only person who could sort it all out, and I had to continue to support this debt. What I basically did, I just resigned. I was forced to resign. They got me in there and said, I think the best thing they tried to do a big cover-up because they thought there was this big conspiracy. And I said, okay, I'm out of here. So off I went, and now I had to, in the position now I had to really make my business work just to cover this $1,200 a week repayment of a loan, which I had from a development company. It took me 2 years to start to sell the remaining properties I had. So I had, for 2 years, I'd earned $1,200 a week just to pay the loan off. So I earned a lot of money at that time, but it all went to Westpac during that time. What was also interesting during that time frame, I was living, I had to pay rent. I was living with a lady called Cheryl and Graham, and there were times I had contracts, but I wasn't getting a lot of money, but I was working for the Australian Institute of Sport. It used to pay me every now and again, but when it came, it was a lot of money, and I had to I'd lose it fairly quickly. But when it did come, it was a lot of money, but there was big gaps between when they paid their bills. So there would be weeks where I had virtually bugger all cash flow or bugger all money. And I always remember Cheryl saying, Kerry, I know if you want, you can throw in $50 a week, because she was a magnificent cook. She was an incredible cook. If you want, you can throw in $50 a week, and that will contribute to food, and I'll cook you your meals for you when you come home at night. I said, thank you so much, Cheryl, that'd be great. However, look, I'm out and about all the time training people, so therefore I never really take advantage of it anyway. The truth was, I didn't have the money. I didn't have the money to even put $50 in for food. And what was amazing is I'd come home late at night and Cheryl would have cooked up this magnificent feast. And I'd walk in and there at the dinner table eating this glorious food she'd cooked, all sorts of great stuff, and you'd smell it from the street away. You'd walk in and say, oh, Kerry, look, we got some extra food, would you like some? And I say, no thanks, I've been eating all day, I'm really full. I did nothing all day, I'm starving. But I was always taught never to take something for nothing. So I would go into my little office and work on my little office, which is the garage. And I wait for them to finish their dinner, and I said, "We've got some left over if you want some." I said, "No, I'm full. I'm still full from eating all day." And then I would go to bed after that, and then I would go into the kitchen and I'd cook my meal. And I'd get some rice, and this little bag of rice was cheap, and I'd boil that up and put a bit of tomato sauce on it, and that's basically what I did. Very bland meals in between paychecks. So, things were really, really, really tight for basically 2 years until I sold all of the properties and virtually lost everything, the $750,000 that I'd accumulated. I ended up coming out with about 20 grand. I blew that in about a week because I'd been living on the breadline for so long. When I did get some money, party time, bring it on. And realised I ran out of money when the cheque bounced. Because there was, we used to transact by cheques by then. We didn't have internet or anything like that. That didn't exist. I said, I think I've run out of money. So I couldn't have run out of money by now. Come on, there's 20 grand there. I go in there, it's all gone. Look at that. During that time, I was my mum passed away. She was my closest friend in the world at the time. So she passed away, which is pretty devastating, very unexpectedly. And I also found out my girlfriend at the time, who, we were in a very serious relationship. Well, I thought I was anyway, until I found out she was having an affair with my best mate. So that was quite interesting to find out as well, all around the same time when that was happening. Soon after that, I had a business with a partner, and the partner started having an affair with one of our clients. Pretty major affair, really affected the dynamic of the whole business, and things started getting a bit tense and all sorts of stuff because I didn't agree with what he was doing and all sorts of stuff. So he ended up leaving the business and took about 40 grand with him, cleaned everything out, and left me with some business debts. So I had overall about $30,000 worth of business debts, which I had to pay off after that. So he left, cleaned everything out, and left with me with probably 70 grand in the hole. So off I go again. I just cleaned up the previous debt, which is the development, and now I've got this one to deal with. So that was quite interesting, and to start again. I ended up getting married in that process to my first wife, and everything was going really nice until we got married. And then I remember going into a lady called Sharon Gould, where I was doing some personal training at Century Cove, and she was a wise lady. She was more mature. And I always remember having a chat to her and says, Sharon, she said, what? She says, I think I've married an alien. She says, what do you mean? She says, I just don't get this. Everything was so nice up until we got married, but after we got married, she turned into, I don't know what. Like it was just nagging. I'd never seen her heard nagging like that ever in my entire life. Like, is that normal? And it got to the stage in the relationship where, I would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, so I'm out the door before she even gets up. And if you asked me to train you at 11 o'clock at night, I'd train you, just so I wouldn't have to go home. And going home and getting the key, I'd put the key in the door and I'd do this. Take a big breath and wonder what battlefield I'm going into. No matter what it was, you never be pleased. I learned that men and women are very different. I didn't know any knowledge about differences in men and women. I experienced it in marriage, which is quite interesting. And I learned that fine to a bloke means fine, but fine to a woman doesn't mean fine. It's feeling insecure, neurotic and emotional and want to kill you. So the relationship was just it was a fascinating affair. In other words, it'd be horrid. And after 1 year, I said, I'm out of here. I can't handle this anymore. It came good for about a couple of months, and then it just went pretty sour again. So that finished up after 2 years, and I just couldn't take it anymore. I just pretty lost it. I'll share something really. This is fascinating. You love this one. I've shared this with hardly anyone. We got to the stage. Her mother was there, and she just went off. She just got off the tangent. She'd just go at me like this. And her mother was in the bedroom. I'm in our bedroom. She's going off, and she's just, and what do you have to say? And I was never said anything nasty about it. I never swore to anything. And this is the first time that I said, "Shut the fuck up." And she said, furious, fuck, what did you say? Like a school teacher. How dare you? I said, shut the fuck up. Fuck off, I'm out of here. And I just I'm in these cut-off tracky dacks. And no shirt. I'm about to go to bed, alright? So I just walk out the door. Before I know she's following me. This is like early in the morning. I said, she's following me. Get out of here. And then I started running. She starts running. And I'm running for my life in the middle of the streets in these tracky dacks. So off I go. I started walking through the neighbourhood. I first ran up. And I'm walking through the neighbourhood, and obviously 1,000 things are going through my mind. I'm thinking, because I cannot fail. I don't like to fail no matter what. I'm going to make this relationship, this marriage work if it kills me. Well, I almost died. So I can't kill myself to save the marriage, because there is no marriage if I'm dead. So I'm walking around the streets late at night, and I came across this cricket pitch, a cricket oval, down near the Benoa Tavern. I'm walking through the middle, the moon's out and that, and I'm just trying to find myself and realise what's going on and what I'm going to do. And my mind went a bit crazy. I thought, I used to be a real good cricketer when I was young. I was a great little cricketer. I was a great bowler. So what I started doing, I started playing cricket in the middle of the morning. So I've got the pitch, and I'm doing my run-up. I set up my run-up. I used to be opening bowler. And I said, okay, I've got nothing to mark my run-up. You've got to mark your run-up. Had nothing to mark it. So I took my pants off. So there I am, stark naked, in the middle of this oval, in the middle of the night, cars driving, running, and I'm running in, bowling. And I just lived this whole cricket game, just to go through this whole... It was quite interesting. Then I ended up walking up and down the cricket pitch. I'd walk up and down the cricket pitch. So I'd go one way and I'd say, okay, this way I'm going to go through all the reasons why I should leave, right? And the pitch wasn't long enough. Like the list was just... Then the other way, because I'm going more logic now, going the other way and thinking all the reasons why I should stay. I couldn't take a step. Interesting. So that ended up, we got married on New Year's Eve and we broke up on New Year's Eve. And I ended up going home and got changed and went and stayed in a motel and I said, it's over, and it's over, and she was all freaky and her mum's all freaky and all sorts of stuff, and things were freaky. And I just think, just go away. And she said she's going back to Melbourne because that's where she said. I said, good, the further the better. And then she rings me up one day and said, well, I've got the removalist here and, taking the stuff. So, you better come around. And I just didn't want to be anywhere near her. And you better come around to work out, what you want and what I want. I said, look, I trust you. And don't get me wrong, she had she was, ethically correct woman. She had a heart of gold. She just had some other challenges she was dealing with, and unfortunately I was the target all the time to deal with her own stresses. I was like a punching bag. And I said to her, I said, look, well, I trust you. You take what you feel right as yours and just leave what you think is mine. Right? So she took everything. I come back to her house and it's pretty much empty except for my two dogs, Rosie and Benson. Glad she didn't take them. And so now she took everything, sold the house for a loss naturally because under duress and all sorts of stuff, and back to being broke again with a empty house, which I'm still paying for the mortgage. So that was an interesting experience along the way. And then I moved on, and from there I found a relationship with Ro, and things were going great. But when I first got with Ro, we had two backgrounds. I had all this magnificent furniture. This is called William White antique furniture. These are 100-year-old floorboards. Everything I had, I've got this thing about antique furniture. So I had this some antique furniture left over, which she didn't take. She took, my magnificent red wine selection. Like I had this magnificent collection of red wine. Now she didn't even drink red wine, but she took that anyway. So fair enough, I had to start that again. But when she left, I started collecting all this furniture and restocking up the house and refurnishing and all sorts of stuff, and spent a fair bit of money on it. What was really interesting, when Ro and I first got together, we decided to move in together. We had too much furniture. Ro had her furniture, which is more modern, and had my furniture, which is really colonial, antique-ish type. So we decided to put the furniture with a friend of Ro's, who was a good friend, and she looked after it in her house. So we basically finished our whole house with my furniture. And then when Ro and I, we were together, I remember my brother said to me one day, he said, look, I'm looking for a dining room table. I said, look, mate, just take mine. I've got heaps of stuff. I've got a whole house full of furniture, which I collected over time to restock the house. So he goes around to this house where it's stored and says, look, I'm here to collect the furniture. And it was probably about 50 grand's worth of furniture in there, I would say. And she said, no, it's mine. And he says, no, it's Kerry. I said, no, it's not. Kerry gave it to me. So she shut the door and I was the end of the furniture. So when push came to shove, she said, well, all those, after everything I've done for you and all the extra hours I've worked for you, which we never asked for, you said that I could keep the furniture, which we never said. So all of a sudden, someone's just stolen $50,000 worth of furniture. Now, I was ready to go around and knock the door down. But it's interesting that we decided to let her have it, and I'll go through the reasons why. So that was quite fascinating. If someone comes and takes all of your furniture. So now back to it, it's all gone. Isn't that fascinating? When Ro and I continued on in our journey, we're fairly ambitious type people, very driven. So we started forming a business together called SPT, Systemized Personal Training. And it was a business we never wanted to start. I helped out a mate of mine called Michael Burke at Independent Workout, who is at a time when no one knew what to do with personal training. And because I had personal training studios, Ro had run personal training systems in gyms before, and no one else had done very much. We had a good understanding of personal training, and Ro had an understanding how to make it profitable in gym, and I had an understanding of the technical aspects of training as well as running a PT studio. So a lot of the gyms didn't know what to do with it because I had personal trainers coming in, not even paying anything, training clients, taking all the money and basically doing all sorts of crazy things. So I helped out a mate of mine called Michael Burke, and we went around there, spent a day with their staff, put some systems into place and put some structure into their personal training. Well, that took off. It just went crazy, and he ended up making a $70,000 profit in his first year. Another mate of mine who I worked with down there called Rick Kazali's gym down there. We went there, helped him. He started making money. So word started to spread that we had this system, formula, how to make personal training very profitable in health clubs. We never wanted to do it because we never wanted to travel around. We had a beautiful place on the Gold Coast at the time, living a pretty good life, or a great life. And all of a sudden, everyone's ringing us up, wanting us to work and come and put the systemized personal training. They ended up calling it the McEvoy System, not because we called it that, but everyone called it the McEvoy System. And before we know it, over the next 3 years, we consulted to 150 health clubs around Australia, putting the system into place. We worked with every chain health clubs in the country at the time. There was the Fernwoods. We did all of their chain. They had about 21 clubs then. They got 80 now. All Sports, who had 10 clubs or 12 clubs in Brisbane. Perfect Fit, who had 6 clubs in Adelaide. BCs, who had 12 clubs in Perth. Lifestyle had 10 clubs in Melbourne, plus all the individual clubs. So what we found ourselves doing is spending our life on a plane, travelling around the country, consulting, living in hotel rooms and in other people's businesses. It was absolutely crazy. You know? It just went absolutely crazy. It got to the stage where I'm actually trying to put the price up to deter people from employing our services. I always remember this phone call. A guy, Norm Virgo from Perfect Fit, rings up and says, "Look, I hear about this magnificent personal training system. I understand there are clubs making $100,000 a month out of this." So when we first got asked how much, I didn't know how much to say. So I said, $2,000 for 2 days in a seminar. At that time, that was a fairly chunky bit of money going back then. And he went, "Okay." I thought, "Geez, that was easy." Then over time we take it up to 2,500, and then we start getting so busy, so I have to put people up. So we'll put up to 3,500 to stop people from employing us. Just outprice ourselves. Then we went up to 4,500, then 5,500, and people kept, okay. Then Norm Virgo rings up and says, "Look, I've got 6 clubs. We want to employ you to come here and do this, that, and the other thing." And I said, "Well, how much is it?" I said, "It's 5.5K per club." And said, "Okay, fair enough. I should be able to get that through. Can you put a proposal together, get it to me? I'll put it through the board." They had a board. So I ended up putting this little proposal. We sent it through to him, and then he calls back and he said, "Oh, unfortunately, I think you've made a mistake here." He says, "What do you mean?" He says, "You said it's 5,500. I said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, how come I've got this project here for about 30,000? I said, "It's 5.5K per club, but I've given you a discount, which is 4.5K per club. How good's that? It's only 30K. He says, "Oh, that's just ridiculous." I said, "It probably is." And so I thought, that. He says, "Oh, that's a shame. Never mind. All the best with your personal training." I was quite happy not to go. The next day he rings back, "Okay, come down." Because understanding this is going to make him millions. Would you pay 30,000 to make millions out of a... So off we went down, we started working for them. So no matter what we did, we were just so crazily busy. The last year of our journeys in SBT, we had 11 days off. Every other day I was out in the field. What happened is I started to suffer from this stress-related disease. It's called lipiditis. Lipiditis, which means the inflammation of lipid, which is fat. So the inflammation of my fat cells. Basically, I put on 20 kilograms of fat. And I carried it pretty well because I carried it well. I just looked like a big footballer, but not fat baller. Ro also put on a fair chunk of weight, not a massive amount, but I sort of made up for her. This is me presenting at a seminar. You can see just the width of me. I look like the front row who's Dave Taylor from the Rabbitohs. And here I have this moon head of a face, and I whacked on all this weight. Not that I wasn't exercising, because I would still exercise every day. I'd get up in the morning, I'd run 5K, then go home and eat 10. So I was still exercising, but not hard. I was just trudging along. You would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, exercise, have breakfast, meet with the owners of the business, be in the gym by 7, 8 o'clock, meet the trainers, go through to 5, 6 o'clock. We're working with the trainers. Then we'd do a public seminar at night for the general public, which would come in, and there would be 100, 200, 300, up to 500 people at this seminar. We wouldn't finish up to 11, 12 o'clock at night. Then we'd drive home again, or drive back to the hotel. Ro would fall asleep in her food. We'd just sit there, fast there for a while, then get up and do it again. Every single day. Day in, day out, day in, day out. Ro ended up getting what we end up calling the Lifestyle Rash. It's a club called Lifestyle who loved us so much. They decided to employ us 6 days of every month to come and work at their clubs. So what we did is we do 6 days full with their clubs. They'd fly us down, and we'd do sales training, management training, you name the training, we'd do all their training. And they paid us quite well for that. But because we were sort of seeing the same club, and they had like 300 staff, they had about 100 personal trainers throughout their clubs. Ro takes everything, she gets into it, she takes it personally, she gets really involved. Where I can tend to, do that, then on the plane I forget about it. But she takes everything with her. So she started getting this rash just right there, just on her bum, just above her cheek, just right in the middle, on the coccyx. And I'll be laying at night, I'll hear this, and she'll be scratching her. What are you doing? She's scratching. You get a fork. I'd have to sometimes get a fork and I'd be scratching her. I'm thinking, she'd be going harder. I go, oh no, she's going to bleed. So she got this lifestyle rash, which came up right there. No one ever saw it because it was in a spot where people wouldn't see, but she had that for years. And it's purely a stress-related rash. Where I got lipiditis, she got rashitis in that journey. So that was quite an interesting journey. Then we sort of, over time, which I'll explain some of the transitions there, we end up moving away from SBT, and we hand-bought it to a mate of mine called Johnny Marler, who went through his own challenges with that. And we started focusing on our business called the National College of Fitness at the time, and then we got involved with the Australian Institute of Fitness and all sorts of stuff. And that we were at home focusing on one business, and now we could just write our own business and not worry about working with 150 businesses. So we started going magnificently well with the business we had, Fitness Education. We had some personal training studios at the time, which we ended up closing down over time. They were going okay, but our focus was what we're doing now. And became very, very successful in that journey in the Australian Institute of Fitness. We won lots of awards and all sorts of stuff. But over time, there was it got to the time where we found ourselves, and we put ourselves in the position where we got involved with some other business. Started the National College of Business, pumped a $250,000 into there, lost all of that basically. It's all still going, but they still owe us. But I just don't worry about it now because I'm not going to get that back. And we worked out a deal when I moved out of the National College of Business, and we opened up another business called the Australian Institute of Massage. So all these new ventures cost a lot of money. So we pumped in probably $250,000 into the Australian Institute of Massage. And I handed over to a friend of mine who was running it, and every now and again I'd have to pump money in to keep it alive. And what happened is that over time, I was hands off completely off this other business which I was involved in financially, and that one all of a sudden, within a day, I got this email saying, we can't pay any of our bills, we can't pay this, we can't pay that, we're basically financially stuffed. And that company got into voluntary administration. So all of a sudden I'm meeting with receivers, and they're going through the books and going through the monies, and there's no money and all sorts of stuff. And so it was quite a fascinating experience being interrogated by financial receivers or liquidators. So we went through quite a challenging time there. And that ended up surviving, but that put a massive strain on the core business, financially and time-wise and all sorts of stuff. And we found that our core business started to be short in certain areas because we had put out virtually in other investments millions of dollars in other areas which weren't there for cash flow for the business. Economical changes, the election, all sorts of things started happening. The global financial crisis. All of a sudden, we found ourselves on shallow ground and in a vulnerable position. With our partners at the time. So next before I know it, we're facing a takeover, a hostile takeover from partners who, when they see you down, they sort of went after the pot of gold, and gave us a couple choices to make. And at the end of the day, we chose to walk away from a $15 million business, making $2 million profit a year, and lost millions in the process. So we now had nothing. The business which I'd built for 20 years, I basically was taken advantage of, or whatever you want to call it, by people who I thought I trusted. So we decided to walk away from that and start again. How good's that? Here we are again. They didn't take the furniture this time. So that was an interesting transition. At that same time, I was having understand this process was a 2.5 year process. This didn't take a week. This was 2.5 years of dealing with shit, liquidators, receivers, all sorts of stuff. I know it took 2.5 years because it was my birthday, and Ro decided to take me to the Grand Hyatt and the harbour down in Sydney. So we were about to have this great birthday of mine at the harbour. The day before, and some things came through, and I said, this is not right. I can't be sitting in luxury up here. We've got to go and start fixing this stuff up. So we actually gave it to Dottie and Prabha at the time. You remember that? You went to the state. I said, I've got to go back to Queensland and start cleaning up stuff. So we instantly had to, we had a team of over 100 people at the time. There's 80 of them there. And so we had to start to cull. We ended up, within a week, I think we got 20 and 40, went down to 40, and so we had to just start to clean up because we were heavy in resources and we were generous. We'll give, Ferraris and holidays and all sorts of stuff, and all of a sudden we had to stop all of that. So we had to bring our team down to the bare essentials. So imagine that. Imagine going and sacking 20 people in a day. That's not a very nice thing to do. All of a sudden you have these people who rely on you, and all of a sudden you have to, hey, we've got to save the business. We have to save what we can. So it wasn't that bad because a lot of people volunteered because they realised that they probably may not have been contributing as much as they could, and they ended up voluntarily leaving. So we started going down that path just before we sort of moved out of that company. I personally made a lot of investments. I always remember this day. Ro was watching the morning news, and she said, Maxwell, because that's my nickname, Ro calls me Max, or Maxwell, says, what? Says, what was the name of that company we invested a lot of tax effectives in? And then it says, Great Southern. And that's one of them. There's FEA and there's a whole series of others as well. I says, okay, Great Southern. Says, how much money have we got with Great Southern? I said, about $1.5 million. Says, guess what? Right, so we just lost it. Why is that? Great Southern just gone through administration, so we just lost $1.5 million. How about the other ones? Well, they're all connected. So in the global financial crisis, we lost a number of millions of dollars, just gone. See you later. And I said, okay, that's nice. So yes, could have been ostriches, I suppose. So as you can see in the journal, with the journey, there's been some some challenges to deal with in that whole process. Isn't that fun? You enjoy that? You could write a book about that, couldn't you? And that's without the detail. So let me take you through some of the things that I was thinking at the time and what I did at the time to manoeuvre through that time. And you've always got choice in life, no matter what. No matter what the circumstances, you got choice. And many times you've got two choices to make in life. You can make the easy choice, or you can make the better choice. The better choice is generally the harder choice. People tend to take the easier choice. And you take you back to the start again, from being a warrior and how to become a warrior. When I was that little kid fighting in the playground, every lunch hour, I thought, well, geez, if I'm going to do this every day, I better learn how to fight. So I remember dragging my mum to the drive-in, Aspie Drive-In, to watch a whole night of Bruce Lee. I never heard of Bruce Lee, but I heard of him, but never saw him. So we go to the drive-in, and all of a sudden there's Bruce Lee doing all his martial arts. And I said, oh, God, how good is that? Oh, man, the playground mates, they go, I ain't going to like this stuff. So I need to learn to fight like that. Then I can bash the shit out of anyone who teases me about my stuttering, teases me about, my knowledge, how dumb I am, how spastic I am. They tease me, I'm going to kill them. I'm going to be Bruce Lee. So the next day I go up to the local judo club and I start learning judo. There I am at a young age. That's me under here, throwing someone over my shoulder. That's me when I was won a number of titles. So I started, and once I got into judo, I found I had a natural ability to express myself, and I got really, really good at it. Before you know it, I'm winning every national title there is. I'm winning everything. As I got better in judo, I started getting better in lots of other things in my life. Every sport I've played, I've always played at the top rank from when I was 10 right all the way through. I represented Queensland in cricket and Queensland in football. And so no matter what sport I played, I always had a natural ability at it. But one of the things I really loved was the martial arts. So I went into judo, I started doing other martial arts. I ended up becoming a third degree black belt in Taekwondo. That's me in the air. Ended up winning national martial arts and kickboxing titles in that process. And found that the more I learned how to fight and the better I got at fighting, the less I fought. I didn't have to fight anymore because I knew that I could win. And when you know you can win, you don't have to prove it. So I found that over time I started walking away from fights, or just psychologically getting the bloke to back down from the fight by just eyeballing them. And when they know that you're not going to stand down, they tend to back off, because no one wants to pick a fight with a bulldog, do they? You know, I learned that when I was one of my bullying years at school. There's a guy called Alan Maniac. He's Alan Maniac. We call him Alan Maniac. And Alan Maniac, I'll show you Alan. He's here. Got him back here. I'll show you Alan. Oh no, he's in one of my other photos. Sorry, he's in another one. I remember. But Alan's the skinny little bloke at school, and easy picking. And I remember I picked him one day because I was just in one of those moves. I picked him, and he's a little skinny little guy, little dorky looking thing, looked like he came from for an alien or something. And I pick him, and all of a sudden he just blows up. But this guy, he's starting swinging like windmills, going crazy, possessed bloke. I'm going, holy, too hard. too hard. And I learned then that if someone stands up to a bully, that the bully just is too hard. And I was a bully at the time, because when I used to get people pick me first, but then I got to start picking people. So I learnt that if you stand up for yourself, people tend to back down anyway, because no one wants the hassle of pushing through. So martial arts, that opened up opportunity. I ended up getting an opportunity to work in an international showroom at the casino in a program, a show called Galaxies. I was a featured martial artist and a choreographer. So I was to train all the acrobats and dancers with how to fight with swords and all sorts of sticks and all sorts of stuff. And I'd be the major feature fighter with my partner at the time. So I was the Mongolian fighter from Kublai Khan, and my mate was the Japanese. Mongolia and Japan were in warfare. So that's me with my butterfly swords. I fought with butterfly swords, broadswords, nunchuckers, staffs, all sorts of weaponry. And it would be just full production on stage and there'd be all these fighters around me, which I trained them, so it was like a big production. And I did that for about 2 years. It was fantastic. Actually, you'd be in crowds of 1,000 people every night, 8 shows a week. There was a couple in there called Ron and Jolene Watson, who were Dagio dancers from Vegas. They were superstars in Vegas. They were specially contracted to come out to be a special feature in the show. And they got to love what I did so much. So he said, how about you come back to Vegas and have a career on the Strip? And we know all the producers and all that, and we can create some magnificent, huge shows over in Vegas, and we can mix Dagio dancing with fighting and with weaponry, and you be the feature artist of it with us. So I had this great opportunity to go and become a superstar over in Vegas, which at the time I chose not to do. Because at that time I was thinking, what's my true passion in life? Martial art was a decreasing passion, and fitness was an increasing passion. The easy thing to do is to do the martial art path rather than go into this new area of fitness. It was interesting, in my last fight, before I retired from professional kickboxing, it was from the Commonwealth titles. And I remember going into the ring. I was lured out of retirement, because I already retired. I was lured out of retirement because my ego brought me out, for one. Because I went through a fight and saw them fight and said, these guys are hopeless, so I can do better than that. And then one of the promoters says, why don't you come out and fight and prove how to really fight? Because I was quite an entertaining fighter. I was great with my feet. I was fast. I was powerful. So I was a good showman to fight for a promoter. And he said, look, I paid me some good bucks to come out of retirement. And my ego was served, and out I came. So I came out for all the wrong reasons. Prepared for the Commonwealth title against a bloke who was far more hungrier than me. I got sick leading up to it, but I think you would have beaten me anyway, I think. But I always remember sitting in the change room, and they're strapping out your hands. They're putting the straps, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, and then before a fight I would always lay down and look at the ceiling. I'd just lay down on the floor like a butterfly like that. No psycho, no nothing. I said, well, I saved the energy for the ring. I wasted in here. And I just lay there looking at the ceiling. I just emptied my mind out. And at this time I started thinking, I'm about to go into a ring against a stranger who I've never met, and I have to beat the shit out of him. I don't even know who he is. So that's when I realised that my mind wasn't in it anymore, because he was literally wanting to kill me. I wanted to be his friend. So my mind just started changing with my experiences, and realised that was, this would probably be my last fight, and it was. And he ended up beating me. So I moved on. In that whole journey, obviously, I experimented with lots of different things, and went into a bit of bodybuilding, which was a lot of fun, and went to uni and pushed through that one, and being remember I was the spastic in the class, the dumb one in the class, and so I used that motivation to go and get educated. So I ended up getting a master's degree in exercise science, and currently doing a doctorate in business. Not because I'm a natural academic. It's not natural at all, but because it's just there. Why not? Why not? I'll make up in skill with will. I'll just push through. I was never the smartest bloke in the class, but I was the one who seems to always be there, finished, last standing. I'll keep going until it's done. It may take a bit longer, but it will be done, no matter what. So, in that process, I also started developing speaking. I always remember the turning point in my speaking is that when that night with my family, and they all started laughing when they said that I had to do a speech. I thought, this is what I thought, even though I shrunk and everyone, it was a roar of laughter about me doing a speech. And internally, this is what I thought, well, fuck you. I'll show you. And at the wedding, I got up and I delivered a magnificent speech. I don't know where I pulled it from. I just had to prove to these people that I could put two words together and put a speech together. And that's when I realised that no matter how disadvantaged you are, if you work hard enough, you can do it. No matter what. No matter what the circumstances are. A stuttering, blittering idiot gets up there, and I had the whole group in raptures of laughter, and people go, I didn't know you were funny. And I think to myself, neither did I. But it's interesting that now that I'm a corporate speaker. It's not something which I promote myself as, but Roy and myself, we can demand $5,000 for an hour if we wanted to. Well, she does, and I on occasion do. We give it to charity because it's something which we give back. So turning that speech impediment, that lack of knowledge, or not being that smart, into something which is now people see as being super successful. Geez, you're a natural speaker. No, I'm not. I'm not a natural speaker. I'm not natural in anything. I'm just pretty much a hard worker. I'll grit my teeth into it and go and do it. Becoming the Harvard Good Health Management Program national presenter, and speaking with some of the big organisations. When I got sacked that day, remember I got sacked from that job, and I thought to myself, never again. Never again am I going to put myself in a position where I can be sacked. And the only way to do that is to work for yourself, because I will not sack myself. So that day I vowed that I'd never work for another person ever again in my life. And in that, I've been in business now for 22 years, and I own 7 businesses in that journey. Some have been super successful, some have been averagely successful, and some not so successful. But no matter what, I have loved every minute of each one of them which I've done. Some I did for the wrong reason, some I did for the right reason. Interesting, the ones I did for the right reason turned out really successful. The ones I did for the wrong reason didn't turn out to be too successful. So in that journey, after being sacked, I decided to go into business, and it's interesting that my business sports lead had to thrive then had to thrive to survive. When beforehand, when I had the safety net of the gym as a full-time gym instructor, I could just be comfortable. And one thing I learned, one of the biggest enemies in people's lives is comfort. Comfort is the biggest enemy. When things are getting comfortable, you tend to go, I want to settle down. Well, what satisfies you now will not satisfy you in the future. And if you don't understand that, life will soon show that. I always remember my brother saying he had his own shop, key cutting shoe repairs. And he said he had to get out. And it was an interesting confrontation I had with him. He said to me this one day, he said, you don't seem to come around and visit or see your nieces and nephews. How come? And he said it in a real judgmental way. And I said, because you're a fat, negative shit. What do I want to hang out with you for? And even though it was very confronting, he went, yeah. And it wasn't soon after that he said, look, I want to start changing my life because I want to get out of this little business I have and start to do something which I really, really want to do. And he ended up becoming a personal trainer. But one of the quotes he said is that he used to profit about $60,000 a year. He said that used to be enough. But as life passes on, it's no longer enough when you've got 4 kids. And realising what satisfies you now will not satisfy you in the future. That's why you have to keep growing. And comfort zone stops you from growing. You start to settle in. And I was fortunate that I did get sacked. That day I got sacked was one of the best things it's ever happened to me. I always remember speaking to my manager when they sacked me. I said, how come I'm being sacked? Well, A, there was all that conspiracy stuff. But also, she said, I said, yeah, I'm a good gym instructor. She says, yes, you are a good gym instructor. She says, why are you sacking me? She says, because you used to be a great one. And maybe this is a message. You used to be a great gym instructor, but now you're just good. Why? Because my mind had moved on into my sports elite business. And I was fortunate that she cut that. Now I've learned to cut it myself. As soon as I'm comfortable, I make myself uncomfortable by growing into something bigger and better. Might be bigger and better of the same thing, could be something different. It's going to be up to you. Had to make things successful then, so I end up putting in strategies to train elite athletes, because that's where my passion was, and ended up becoming the trainer for the Australian Institute of Sport. Various national sporting teams, Olympic gold medalists. End up travelling the country, travelling the world. Work with Major League Baseball, David Nielsen, John Jaha, Milwaukee Brewers. So that's to send people over in the off-season for me to train in Australia, to go over there and tour with the team on an occasional basis. So I ended up working with some great athletes and teams, multiple gold medalists and national champions. David was on a $20 million contract. I had to look after him. I first got involved in him rehabilitating his shoulder. But I had to now, because I couldn't keep living on rice and tomato sauce. Yes. What's amazing about that rice and tomato sauce is that it makes you very lean. It's fantastic. I was ripped as. And because I had no money for petrol, I used to run everywhere. So people say, look at Kerry, he's out running this, and he practices what he preaches. They didn't understand I didn't have any petrol. That's why I was running. Why, he's so ripped. What are you eating? I didn't tell him. Rice and tomato sauce. So why do you eat that? Because that's all I can afford. So... But in that journey, when I had that massive debt, by the way, to my previous development company, I guess it really taught me discipline. I had to do it now. So I was used to, getting up early, staying up late, 7 days a week, doing what I actually loved. I never saw it as work. It's just something which I loved. And I had to pay off this massive debt. But maybe that was a good thing, because it taught me what I could do. It showed me what I could do when the chips were down. 7 days a week. So anything less than 7 days to me now is like, well, I get bored really quickly when I can go out there and train people, do stuff and grow stuff. Certainly there's other interests I have, but that time was a good thing because it forced discipline upon me. Because it was, sometimes starvation is the best motivation, backed up by desperation. That can really turn you into become very disciplined at what you do. So hardship is good. Teaches you great lessons. It exposes your character. It shows what you can do when you have to do it. In that journey, when obviously my relationship and that broke apart, and I found that I was free, so that was a good time in my life too. I was a free single bloke, ambitious, so I played the field pretty hard. I burnt the candle at multiple ends. I get to meet lots and lots of women. I always remember this feedback once, nothing I'm entirely proud of, but it was something which is a great lesson. I used to present at national conferences, and national conferences you'd have 1,500 people to it. And this was back in the era where the fitness industry was driven by aerobic instructors. So it was all female based. The whole fitness industry was driven by aerobic instructors. So I'd go to a national conference, and there'd be 1,500 people there, and about 1,400 of them would be women doing aerobics, wearing little tiny clothes. And the other 100 would be blokes. And out of those 100, 90 would be gay. Right? 5 would be married, there'd be 5 of us, which are single. That was a great playing ground. It's like it was Disneyland combined with Vegas, really. So yeah, I used to play the field pretty hard. I used to work my ass off, but I'd also play just as hard. And I remember I got this reputation. It came from a lady called Lexi Williams, and I was developing a personal training course for another business down in, because I set up personal training courses for other providers around the country. Because I was the only one who actually was doing it, and I was the only one who actually had a course for it. So they contracted me to set up courses in Sydney and Melbourne and Tasmania. So I'd go down there and help them set it up and show it and deliver it. And she said to me once, says, you know, Kerry, you're getting a reputation. I said, really? What for? Thinking it's a good one. She says, you're getting a reputation as a drunken womaniser. And I thought, I don't know how to take that. But then I realised at that time that's not the reputation I wanted if I wanted to keep moving forward the way I wanted to go through. However, I had a lot of fun getting that reputation. So in that area, because I didn't have any relationships, I could really focus on my career and also some outside activities. In that journey, when my partner took money and left the business and all sorts of stuff, that gave me a clean slate. A lot of these provide clean slates to start again. How cool is that? I could start again. Bit of debt, but I could start again and remake it the way I wanted to do it. So when I started again, I started with the business and built it up and the National College of Fitness, and obviously I met Ro at that same time and learned lots of great lessons in that. Obviously, if I didn't break up with my wife, I wouldn't have met my soulmate and the love of my life, Ro. And we've been now together for 15 years. The great opportunity when I got rid of all the colonial antique furniture gave me opportunity to get better furniture. You know, if that's the furniture that's going to make your life, then hey, that's a small life. If that 40, 50, 60, 70,000 that my business partner stole from me, if that's the make or break of your life, then it's a small life. Because my view is that, hey, it may be 50,000, but I'm going to have 50 mil. So what's 50,000 when you're going to be 50 mil? It's only chicken feed. It's nothing. It's nothing now because I'm going to be a multi-millionaire. So why fight for the crumbs when you can be baking the bread? That's my thought. I'm not going to go back and fight for the crumbs, fight for the furniture. I'm not going to go and embarrass myself and lower myself to your level and beg for my furniture back. Have the furniture. Ron, I said, let her have it. Let it go. That's the past. Great opportunity for the future. What great lessons you've learned. The other thing which I thought is that every morning she has to get up and eat breakfast on my table. So every morning she'd be thinking about me. She'd be sitting on my couch thinking about me. She'd be laying in my custom-made William White antique waterbed thinking about me. She's sleeping with me and I don't even have to sleep with her. How cool is that? See, sometimes if you let them have it, it's there as a reminder to them, but not to you. They're thinking about you, but you're not thinking about them because you're thinking about the future, and they're probably still holding on to the past after everything I've done for you. My first wife can have the furniture. Take me with you because I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't need it. You know, when in any relationship, I let things go. If you don't take them, I throw them away. Why? I don't want to keep it. I don't need to be reminded. It's not that it's nasty or anything, it's the past. Just let it slide. When it was interesting in those days of SPT, when I put on that 20 kilograms, the turning point was this. I remember I'd come back from a club, a series of clubs. We were coming into town, back into the coast, and we arrived at some ridiculous hour at night. We got up from the airport, went back to our unit. We had to get up and fly out to Adelaide the next day. There were 50 trainers who need training down there, perfect fit. It was ongoing training. So it was a routine. We'll come into the room, our apartment. On the left-hand side there was the laundry, so I'd get the dirty clothes from the last week of being travelling. I'd put all the dirty clothes or what's in it, and she'll go off and start unpacking. I remember doing the dirty clothes, and I walked out, and there Ro, she was in the kitchen, and she's throwing up in the sink. And I thought, that's odd. And I said, you okay? She says, yeah, I'm fine. And she cleaned herself up. And she said, what are you throwing up for? I said, I don't know. Just threw up. Okay, fair enough. So we did our stuff, and the next morning had to get up early, because the next morning we had the National College of Fitness running. We had an aerobic course running that next morning. So the plan was we'd get up early. I'd drop her off at the college. She'd get the aerobic course starting with our lecturer. I'd go to the mailbox, pick up the mail, come back, pick her up, go back to the airport, fly off to Adelaide, and spend a week in Adelaide training 50 trainers down there. The next morning, I'm in the bathroom and she's in the shower, and all of a sudden I hear her throw up again in the shower. And she okay in there? She says, yeah, I'm fine. I'm thinking maybe you shouldn't go to Adelaide. You know, obviously you need a rest. Yeah, we've been going pretty hard. So no, and Ro won't give up. She just keep going. So I thought, okay, that's not good. So I spent half the night scratching a rash. And I got into the car. I dropped her off at the college, which was at 50 Caver Avenue at the time, and out of the car, and I said, and I wound the window down a bit, and I said, go and look after your aerobic course. I'm going to the mail. I'm not coming back. I'm going to the airport. She says, no, you come back and we go to Adelaide. She says, no, you're not coming. You just stay here. You have to stay here. And she tried to open the door and I just drove off and left her behind. Yeah? So I went to the airport, left her. Now the interesting thing is, this is really interesting, is that we had, for 3 years, we had worked our backside off, and all of a sudden we'd done everything together. I fly down to Adelaide. That night I'm meeting with some people from the board, Norm Virgo, Grant Pavia, and I'm in the hotel, I'm meeting for dinner. I hop out of the lift. The three of them are walking, there's three of them, and as I hop out of the lift, they stop and see me and they go, and I'm going, what's the matter? I says, what's going on? And I said, what? He says, where's Ro? I said, she's not here. He says, oh, we've never seen you without Ro. I said, what do you mean? He says, we've never seen you without Ro. And it's just odd seeing you by yourself. And I didn't know how to take that. I thought, okay. So we had dinner. Next morning, I go for a run. So I go from a little, it wasn't really a run, it was like this. Along the river of Adelaide. I come back up on the left. And, yeah, Ro's not there, there's nothing to distract me, I'm by myself. I come out of the run, I get ready for a shower, a bit tight in the hamstring, I'm in the bathroom, big mirror there. I put my foot up on the and I have a stretch. And I look at the mirror. And I think, you fat shit. Who the hell are you? And it's interesting because I never saw it before. I thought, yes. I put my running shoes back on and off I went. Then for another run. And it's almost, I never realised I'd gotten so fat and had a condition. Understanding I've always been under 10% body fat all my life up until then. And plus, I had time alone, I had some time alone, and started to think, rethinking your life, thinking, is this the type of life we're going to be living here? I do the job, go back home, comes up to the end of the year. I decide to go on a holiday, decide to leave Ro by herself. I go up to the Cook Islands. I hire a little hut on the beach, no TV, no radio, no nothing, bare essentials. By myself. Leave Ro behind. I'm there for 2 weeks. Sometimes you just need to... See, what I realised, we had spent 3 years, or all of our life, particularly that time, 24/7, every minute of the day together. Travel together, work together, sleep together, holiday together. And holiday together would be sick. We'd just go away and have a sick holiday. Because you work so hard, then you have a little break, and all you do is stick through it. And that time I said, enough is enough. And you get to think of how you want to live your life. And we decided to... Our relationship was good, it was comfortable, but it lost its spark. There's no passion there. We never fought. There's no fighting, there's no nothing, which is a blessing from the previous marriage. But the spark had died. There's nothing to share. Tell me about your day. Well, you were there. There's nothing to share. There's nothing exciting. You can't miss someone if they're never gone. Every minute we had one phone, one car, one everything. So we decided that we had to, take some drastic action to correct, if we wanted to, keep the marriage. And so we decided to live apart. And we thought we'd do it for 6 months just for a trial. And then we enjoyed it so much it had been 3 years living apart. It was great. We were still married, we still saw each other, but we lived in completely different houses. Me in a unit and her, with different units. So you had that time to be yourself, gain your own independence without losing it. In that time, actually, I got control of my life back again, started shedding all the weight. Every year I go on holidays with mates of mine. I go through for many holidays, but this Thursday I'm going over to Europe for 2 weeks with a mate, travelling just the two of us. October, we've got another 3 mates that are going to Vietnam. I'm cruising over there. And that's my first cruise there. I got my body back into shape. That's on a ship with a guy called Tony. And Ro got her back into shape. She did a bodybuilding contest that year, or body shaping contest, and got our lives back into shape. But we had to break it apart to pull it back together. We had to tear it apart. And that takes, obviously you think, well, maybe it won't get back together. Well, it's probably a better thing, because keeping it the way it was, it wasn't going to work. So since then, we've obviously, had a great marriage for the last 13 years. We have 4 beautiful puppies. And in that time, we learned lessons that we have to maintain our own independence in the relationship. She has to do what she does. I have to do what I do. We have to have our own things. I have my own things. She has her own things. Big lessons to learn. Its relationships are not based on, when people are first born, they are dependent. When a kid is dependent upon the parents for food and clothing, and so there's complete dependence, need from the child to the parent. When a kid goes through that stage of teenagers, they seek independence. They want to be out by themselves, and they want to get their own car, they want to get their own pad, so they seek that independence. Because that's where you grow and find yourself, is that independence. Then, over time, you build your own character, you build your own style, you could say, your own ambition, drive and purpose, and that becomes quite attractive to someone of the opposite sex or the same sex, whatever tickles your fancy. So that strong independence with direction is a very attractive character trait. Then you may come across someone else that has similar things, and you go, wow, that's really attractive, and you start to, and chemistry builds, and you start to like the person for the things that they stand for, and they have purpose. Then you form what we call an interdependent relationship. An interdependent relationship where you have your own independence within a relationship. So you still may live apart, have your own interests and own hobbies and stuff, do your own things, have your own friends, but you get together on a regular basis to have a relationship. And that is probably the most exciting part of any relationship. That's the buzz, that exploration, that mystery about each other, that excitement, that exploring each other and all sorts of stuff. Then unfortunately what happens over time is that interdependence starts to, and this is what happened with Ro and I, it starts to, instead of being parallel, and we go away and you miss each other and you get excited to see each other, you start to form one. And that song, you are my other half? Well, 1 and 1 equals 2, not 1. And you lose yourself within the other person. And that's what happened in my first marriage, and that's what started happening in my second marriage. 1 phone, 1 car, 1 career, 1 hotel room, everything was 1, but 2 of us together. We became the McEvoys. I wasn't Kerry McEvoy, she wasn't Roy McEvoy, we're just the McEvoys. So when you lose yourself, you start to suffocate. At first, when there's that, an insecure person will find that attractive because they think, well, they need me. Well, that's heading down the wrong path. Need becomes very, very, very weighty after a period of time. Where are you? What are you doing? Who are you with? All sorts of stuff. So you start to form what we call complete dependence upon each other. You don't have an opinion, you lose your opinion, because your opinion is the other person's opinion, whoever is the stronger in the relationship. You have to ask permission if you need to go somewhere. You have to ask permission. I don't know, I have to ask my partner. Goodness gracious, that's what we did when you were a kid. You have to ask the partner. So you lose that, and that's where relationships fall apart. Because eventually one feels like they're in jail, and guess what they want to do over time? When you're in jail, guess what you want to do? Break out. So eventually you're trying to break out, and the other one's dependent on you. They go, where are you going? And they try to hold on you. And before you know it, what happens? Bang! Does that. Before you know it, you're playing cricket nude on a long night. Going, get me the hell out of here. Well, what Ro and I did is that we realised that, and we said, let's break it ourselves, not let that life break it. Because if we break it ourselves, then there's a chance for survival. So the trick is not to lose your independence. So I'll use an example. If I'm going on a trip to Vietnam, I don't ask Ro for her permission. I'll say, is this time frame free in our calendar? And she would say, yes. I said, guess what? Tony's invited me to go to Vietnam. You know what she does? Awesome. Will she miss me? Of course. Would she like me to stay? Of course. But she also understands, and vice versa, that we have to also give each other the freedom to walk out of the open door of the birdcage, which makes you want to come back. But what's interesting is a lot of people will fall into that trap. One relationship going to the next one, and guess what happens? It happens, and it happens slowly. How do you get fat? Slowly. How do you screw up a relationship? Slowly. How do you screw anything up? Slowly. So slow you don't realise it until it's too late. So the art is be able to always be out of yourself, looking back in yourself to make sure that things are going down the right path. So, in that journey, we built a great business. We ended up being listed on the BOW Fast 100, being one of the fastest growing companies in the country. We built this great empire. Over time, we became listed on the BOW Young Rich list with an estimated worth of $20 million in that journey, which is sensational. All lots of good fun. Became featured in major business and life magazines and all sorts of places. We had an absolutely fantastic journey, driving beautiful cars and having a magical life, having fun, living in great houses on lakes and great golf courses with great furniture, travelling the world, having a great time. And that's up to you. You can do that whenever you want. You can have a great life straight away. And over time, the things around you will change. In that journey, I set a goal when I was 22 that I'm going to visit a new city or a new country every year for the rest of my life. Because up until then, all my mates had travelled and I hadn't. It got embarrassing. And I thought, my view is if I see a new country every single year for the rest of my life, then I will be very cultured, very experienced, very appreciative of my own country. Since then, I've been to over 50 countries and visited literally hundreds and hundreds of different cities in the world. Yeah. Why? Because there was a time where I didn't go. I didn't like that. So, always maintain my health and fitness over that time period. Always have goals. Don't let life get a hold of you again. When we moved from the previous company, the AAF, we could stay, by the way. We were offered the position to stay. But this was the condition. The condition was the partners had a different view of how business should be done to us. They wanted to build the business, to flood it on the stock exchange, to pump people through and have lots of people go through and make lots of money. And certainly it was making a lot of money. And if you could stay, but Ron and I wanted to focus on quality, add business into the program, have something we should really be proud of. And we were offered to stay and keep the business as long as we did what we were told. So I could stay with a $12.5 million business with millions of dollars of cash flow and not lose anything, and keep all the money and keep all the things. And I said to her, "What do you want to do?" And it took us about a second. Fuck 'em. I'm using the exact language. Fuck 'em. No one tells me what to do. It's my life. See, I'd rather have nothing and like me than have everything and hate me. I'd rather have the whole world against me than me against me. Because at the end of the day, I'm the one who lives with me. So we left. He says, "We've done it once, we can do it again." But now we can actually control everything and create what we really want, which is Max International Clients of Fitness Professionals, a prestigious, exclusive business college that's focused on business, on fitness. So when I come in here, I know that I'm with like-minded people who want excellence, not let's produce as much average and make as much profit as possible, which wasn't where we were going. And it's not right or wrong, it's just a different business model. And I do take everything personally. To me, people say it's just business. No, it's personal to me. Everything, because I spend so much of my life in business, it is personal. So I have to be proud, and Ro has to be proud of what we do. So now I'm proud of what we do. I wasn't proud. The richest I've ever been, I wasn't proud. Richest financially, I wasn't proud of the students we were producing or what I was doing. I was rich, but I wasn't proud. Now I'm not as rich. I'm proud. Rich in spirit. The money comes, it comes back. Since then, obviously, we've moved on and living the life that we want to live. Still, nothing's changed in our life, by the way. It's quite amazing. There might be some less zeros and different accounts around here and less investments, but my life is just as happy as it's ever been. Which is interesting that happiness is in the heart. And in that whole journey, not once have I ever been unhappy. Not once. I've always just loved it. To me, it's like a book. What's a book without drama? What's a book without adventure? To me, it's just, wow, this is a great chapter. Can't wait to add this to the book. How good's that? I'll put this one into the book. I'm about to finish a book at the moment called Kman's Wisdom. Goes in the book. How good's that? So always continually live a life of passion, what you absolutely love doing. And do it for the right reasons. Because at the end of the day, the only thing you have is your thoughts. That's all you got left. The money comes and goes, and people come and go, and things come and go, and cars come and go. But it's all about capturing magical memories and magical moments and magical thoughts in that journey. And that's what I've done. And some of the greatest memories are the hardest ones. You know, when there's a hostile takeover. Man, that's a great story. There's some great stories there. You know, the success stories are boring. The challenges are the exciting ones. They're the ones that you thrive in. Yeah, you get beat up, but there's a good beating. So, wow, I learned some good stuff out of this. So let me take you through some possible strategies that could be helpful to you. I'm sure you've possibly taken a few already from me. I'm sure everyone has shit in their life. I know you do. Some of your challenges are probably greater than mine in some areas. But they're all not really comparable, really. They're all pretty much, relatively the same. You know, a kid's first day at school is just as stressful as your first job interview. It's just the same, internally anyway. So, let's have a little bit of a break. Everyone standing up, give a bit of an energy break. You have to break it up a bit, find a partner, we'll do scissors, paper, rock. Okay, let me take you through some strategies, some mindsets, some opportunities, some things to do that's going to turn what can be a stressful situation into a successful situation. And again, as I said before, most successes come from stress. Most successes come from stress. So if you don't have any stress in your life, you probably don't have any success in your life. You know, if you don't have the stress of exams, you never get the degree. If you don't have the stress in the muscle, you don't get the body. So you have to experience pain in the muscle to get pleasure in your skin. Exercise is stressful. But if you want the pleasure in the skin 24/7, you have to go through the pain in the muscle. If you don't get the pain in the muscle, there's no pleasure. You don't get the stress, you don't get the success. So there seems to be different stages in people's lives. There seems to be. And again, nothing in tonight's black and white. I just want you to just take what you can take out of it and see how you can apply it in your life. The first stage in your life, everyone quickly stand up. What I want you to do, on the count of 3, I want you to strike, the blokes want you to strike your most muscular pose, women your most sexy pose. Ready? 1, 2, 3, strike. Okay, there we go. Well, again, ready? 1, 2, 3, go. There we go. Okay, have a seat. The first stage seems to be in your life is your what we call the athletic phase. The athletic phase or stage in your life. And that's a stage in your life where what's most important to you is your body image, your fitness, your muscles, your sexiness, all those things. You know, when you're young, you're always dieting, you're always trying to make yourself more attractive to the opposite sex, you're buffing yourself up, you're wearing the tight clothes, you're wearing you're sticking the boobies out, you're sticking the bum out, and you're doing all that stuff to be sexy. You're in the athletic phase. Now, obviously, most of us go through it, and when I say most, probably 80%, there might be 20% who don't. So when I say general, I'm using it the majority. And be aware, sometimes people say, well, I don't do that. Well, you don't, because you're an idiot, okay? No, not necessarily. No. And sometimes people argue a case on their own personal experience or view of the world. But they don't see the whole world, they just see their world. And the weakest argument is an argument from the extreme. And the extreme is that the extreme people don't do that, but most people do that. So when you enter that type of argument using that poor examples, it's a real weak argument. You think it's strong because that's all you see. So the athletic phase is where, in my athletic phase, I did my martial arts, I'm punching people, I'm doing weights, I'm looking good, I'm doing kickboxing, all sorts of stuff. You might be playing football, you're going out on Friday nights, looking nice, all sorts of stuff. That's the athletic phase. So your major driving force is to look attractive and sexy and hunky and spunky and all sorts of stuff. Right? And then you do some other stuff on the side. Looking forward to the weekend. The next stage seems to come in people's lives is what we call the warrior phase in your life. The warrior. the warrior. The warrior is that stage in life where you're chasing success. You're chasing, the money. You're chasing the career. You're climbing up the ladder, the corporate ladder. You're out there building a business. You're doing the damage. Come on, more money, more success. Let's go for it. And this stage is a real hard stage in people's lives because it takes a lot of time, a lot of energy driven into the office, into your business, into whatever it might be. But it's also a very dangerous phase in people's lives. Dangerous is that it's the phase where heart disease and stress is really stressful because you're working, climbing the corporate ladder. That's the warrior phase, and that can be quite a dangerous phase. You go through broken marriages and a broken health and broken relationships and all sorts of stuff to chase this success in front of you. If you happen to survive that and start to work things out and don't just collapse in that warrior phase, a lot of people do collapse. They just fall apart, go into depression, anxiety, all sorts of stuff. Then you can get into the last phase, what we call the statesman phase. The statesman phase. Where you've learned the lessons of the warrior phase and you become wiser for it. So you start to get an idea how things work. What not to focus on, what to focus on. What not to worry about, what to worry about. And you become like the wise-eyed cow. It's like the wise-eyed cow or the wise-eyed bull is sitting on top of the hill. And beside him is the young bull, the young experienced bull, full of testosterone. Oh, yeah, come on, I'm not talking. And they're looking down over the paddock. And the paddock is full of cows. And the young, energetic, testosterone-driven bull says, come on, let's run down there, let's sprint down there, and root us a cow. Come on, let's do it. And the other wise bull says, I've got a better idea. He says, what? He says, why don't we walk down and screw them all? Why waste money on, why waste energy on sprinting? See, he just knows how to conserve himself, direct himself, and get a bigger result with a lot less effort. And that's the statesman phase. Things start to work easy, things get easier because you've gone through all the hardship. Remember one of my mentors or a friend of mine, Michael Burke, when he goes through the SVT phase, and he's very successful, and he says to me one day, he says, you have to go through that phase. What you're going through, you have to go through. If you survive, you become very successful. He could see what I was doing because he'd been through it. I've been through that. But things come easy for him. So there seems to be the three phases in people's lives. The most dangerous one is that middle one. Now, you make sure that throughout you keep aspects of the athletic phase, so you don't turn into a big fat cow at the end. You keep the ambition. You keep the health of the athletic phase, the ambition of the warrior phase, and wisely put it together in the statesman phase. A lot of people, when they get to the statesman, the warrior phase, they lose their health. They get real big fat businessmen or businesswomen. You know what I mean? You see it. You see it in front of you. They lose that health for their wealth, and they have to spend their wealth to try to regain their health. And there seems to be three types of people when it comes to certain stresses in your life. They're called what we call A-class people, B and C. And an A person is someone who's driven, ambitious, come on, let's go and do it. It's really like that warrior phase. And they're impatient, they want it now, they get stressed over it now, come on, do it now. The type of people who sort of flush the toilet before they stop peeing, they're sort of onto the next thing. They seem to suffer a lot from the more vascular diseases, coronary heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, the vascular diseases, because that's caused that internal pressure within them, hypertension. Then you have the B class type of people. These people are always just, seems to lie, you just cruise along, nothing bothers them, let's cruise through life and nothing really worries them, and they just, people say they take no responsibility, they just cruise through life. They're the B class. They tend to live forever. You know, they tend to, no stress gets them to all because they never let anything get to them because they don't really care about anything. Then you have the C class of people. We call them the churners. They internalise things. You know, they see the world and they get upset about things, but they don't. When an AOS goes like this, they keep it inside. These people tend to suffer from cancer because they churn on things, and that's long-term danger. At least this one you can see it. This one you see nothing. This one is all hidden until it reveals its ugly head. So overall, I think you probably need a combination of all, ideally. You want the ambition of the A, you want the blasé of the B, and you want the curiosity of the C. So I see A as ambition, B as there's times to be blasé about things that are not important. Now be ambitious about things that are important, be blasé about things that are not important, and be curious about everything so you can find out what is important. So if you use the combination of those, you can, you know, manoeuvre between them and get the best of everything. But isolation in one will tend to lead to disaster or be nothing. And you end up getting stressed eventually because you've got nothing. So let me share with you what I call the dirty dozen. The dozen tips that can help you deal with stuff. Stuff that I've known over my journey, 22 years in business, 28-year career in the fitness industry, and just life in general, the way I see it. The Dirty Dozen. Remember that movie, The Dirty Dozen? One of the classics. Worth a look, The Dirty Dozen, a war movie for the blokes. Okay, first one is to how to handle stuff, is to know what you're handling. You know, when I first went to my first marriage, I didn't know what I was up against. I went in thinking I'm marrying an ally, I ended up marrying a terrorist. Because she became a terrorist, not because she was a terrorist, because I just didn't understand. I didn't know how to communicate. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't her fault. It was everyone's fault. For every problem you've had in your life, there's one person who's always there. Guess who that is? You. What we tend to do, blame the other person. You're the one there at the time. Sometimes you can agitate it, create it yourself. You know, my first wife now is happily married with kids down in Melbourne with her soulmate. Happy as can be. I was obviously the wrong person. I can say, oh, she's the wrong person. Yeah, but I was the wrong person. It takes two to tango. It takes two to tango. So knowledge is powerful because you know what you're dealing with. It doesn't change the emotion sometimes, but at least you can understand the emotion. It means you can be more forgiving. If you understand it, you can forgive. If you don't understand it, you tend to judge it. So when I say look at stress, stress comes back from hunter-gatherer day. Stress is really important, by the way. It's the most powerful force in the human body because it sparks emotions. Emotions are driving. They're fuel, jet fuel. We just got to decide where you're going to send it. The jet. But stress is because of fight, flight. Fight, flight. Back in the caveman days, you'd be walking along, all of a sudden a tiger jumps out in your path and you shit yourself, right? Oh my gosh, tiger. Now, you have adversity in front of you, you have a challenge, you have a problem. You can do one of two things. You can fight the tiger or you can flight from the tiger. So what happens is that your body prepares for one of those two actions. Danger. So what it does, it puts takes the situation, stress puts the body out of its homeostatic state and puts it into a state of anxiety, restlessness, preparation for battle, physical battle or physical running. So the first thing it does is it lifts everything, releases all the action hormones, adrenaline, noradrenaline, catecholamines, all the action hormones into the body to release as much energy as possible because you're going to need it. So the body lifts itself, releases fats into the bloodstream because it needs energy for the working muscle to fight or run or fly. It releases your blood sugars into the bloodstream. It elevates your heart rate, your breathing rate. It elevates your muscle tension in preparation, particularly the fighting muscles such as the traps and the shoulders and the legs for running. So all that comes up. Your breathing rate comes up. Your temperature comes up. You're ready to express energy into the tiger or into the ground by running. So what stress is, it prepares your body for battle. It prepares it for battle. So what happens? You stay in fight, all of a sudden, as you're fighting, you're burning off the sugars, you're burning off the fats, your muscles are working. End result, you either killed the tiger, hey, champion, feel fantastic, your body goes back to a homeostatic state because it's used all the energy it's released, and the body goes back to normal. You win. How cool is that? No more stress. Or the tiger wins, kills you, no more stress. How good's that? Either way, there's no more stress. On the other hand, you could run. Flight means you run down the path, over the valley, through the river, and you get away and you go, yes, too fast. And how do you feel? Great, too fast for that slow tiger. It's aging. How do you feel? You're in the process, you burn off your blood sugars, you burn off your fats, you've relaxed the muscles, the hormones have come back to its normalness. So you feel great and there's no more stress. Or the tiger's fast and it eats you, no more stress. Either way, no more stress. However, we don't have to fight tigers anymore. We fight bills. We fight careers. We fight children. We fight timelines. We fight all sorts of stuff. No more tigers. So this is what stress is. Stress is an internal reaction to an external action. It's an internal reaction to an external action. It means something happens out here and you internally react to it. What's really important is the same external action, 10 different people will react internally differently. The same thing can happen to 10 different people and they'll have 10 different ways to deal with it or respond. Some will fold and some will focus. So when we get a bill, we get a nagging partner, we get reprimanded, we get a timeline, someone's putting pressure on us, the internal reaction is exactly the same as the tiger. You get elevated breathing rate, elevated blood pressure, you get a release of blood sugars, you get a release of fats into the bloodstream, you get muscle tension. But the thing is, when you're fighting a bill, there's no physical actual action. What happens is, your body's left in this imbalanced state of high blood sugars, high blood fats, which leads to diabetes, high blood pressure, coronary heart disease, cancers, all these things, because you never actually get it down. And the worst thing is what we tend to do is when we've had a stressful day, we go home and we share it with someone. And we relive it mentally all over again. And when you relive it mentally all over again, the internal reaction is exactly the same. So what happens, your body in that situation where and because when you're saying it, sometimes it's not as bad as it actually was. Because you're sharing it, you have to make it worse to justify how bad it is. So you add some stuff and you get right up even more. Then you go to bed and you think about it. What are you doing? What you're doing is you're revving up the engine, but you're not actually driving it anywhere. So this body goes into this state where it starts to crack. And the cracks in the armour start to come through. There can be obvious diseases, high blood pressure, atherosclerosis, diabetes. But you've got to look for the little cracks. The little cracks. A rash. The rash on the bum. Clue. That's what we call a clue. The body's not in that natural state. Anxiety. Can't sleep. Short. Bit of a temper. Yeah. I know things with me, because I've got fairly sensitive skin, when my skin starts to get sensitive, I know that I need to settle down. That's a little clue. If I keep pushing, my skin starts to get sensitive because I've got naturally fair skin. So that's my little temperature gauge. So you have to identify little cracks in your armour. Now, 20 kilograms of fat is a good clue. There's a good clue that something's not quite right. Now, maybe you should identify when you're 1 kilogram overweight rather than wait until you get to 20. Right? Look for the little clues. Don't wait for the little clues to become massive, obvious clues. And a lot of times they're obvious to other people before they're obvious to you because you don't see you. And you avoid the mirror until you get that day, you look in the mirror and says, oh my gosh, who are you, you fat poop? So understanding what stress is really important. It's important. If it wasn't stress, you wouldn't wake up in the morning. Because stress wakes us up in the morning. Stress is there for action. But the big challenge people have is they don't take action. They internally react but never actually take external forms of action. So understanding stress is vital to understand it's normal. But a lot of people don't know what to do with it. They end up falling on their own sword. Number 2, have big goals. Big goals drag you through, draw you through small challenges. Problems are only those things that get in your way when you take your eyes off your goals. So if you have big goals, you start to realise that all these things are just minor things anyway. Yeah, if you go and become a millionaire and someone rips you off for $40,000, what's that? $40,000 is nothing in relative to how much money I'm going to be worth. This person who doesn't like me, who's not even going to be a part of my life, is really not really important, because that's not where I'm going anyway. So having big goals gets you focused on those big things that get you over the small challenges in life. People who don't have goals make little challenges big problems. Isn't that amazing? You hear them sometimes. You overhear people talking in the cafe or the bus, and they're all stressed about some minor thing. They major in minor things because they've got nothing major in their life. When you've got nothing major in your life, you have to major in something, so you only major in the small bills, the small hassles, the small relationship challenges, and you turn them into big things, particularly when you start to share them. And then when you're sharing them, you're probably thinking subconsciously, wow, this is only a really silly thing to be annoyed about, I better add a bit of flavour to it. And exaggerate the story. You know, everything is either bigger or smaller than what people say it is, depending what it is. Nothing is actually the truth. See, one thing I understand in life, I've learnt of this, there's a couple of things I know. Number one, I don't know. Right? So I do know. What I do know is I don't know. I know nothing, because I don't believe in anything. What I do know is that people exaggerate. Ever notice that? What I do know is there is no truth, because the truth is in the eye of the beholder. 10 different people can see the same thing and they all come up with 10 different stories. So what is the truth? Even yourself, the truth is different. The truth is when I'm in that poor relationship, what I said about it compared to what I say about it now is very different. Because I've got a different view of it now. Looking back into it, I've got a different view of it than when I was in it. So even when I say when I'm in it, hey, I saw it with my own eyes, yeah, you saw it, but your eyes were still influenced by your emotions at the time. So, there's no truth. Therefore, believe nothing. Just be a good observer. Observe life and reposition yourself. You can't position life. The world spins. You can't stop it. All you can do is reposition yourself. But my point is, reposition yourself going towards big goals, and then you don't worry about all these other things going on around you. It's so easy to get distracted by a fly. But if you're hunting elephant, why do you bother about a fly? You wouldn't believe this fly. Yeah, but you're hunting elephant. Relatively, it makes no difference. You have to decide in every situation, are you going to react or are you going to respond? So when you come across something and you feel yourself getting a bit of emotional, ask yourself this question: am I going to react to this or am I going to respond to it? If I go to the doctor and I've got a rash, the doctor gives me some cream to put on the rash, and I come back a week later and I say, I've used the rash, and he looks at the rash and says, hey, your body has reacted to the rash. Is that generally good or not so good? Probably not so good. Your reaction means it's flared up. Try this cream, I'll use a different cream, I'll go back to the doctor in a week's time, and he says, hey, your rash has responded to the treatment. Is that good or not so good? That's good. So responding is good, because responsibility is responding with your ability. Responding with your ability. So whatever situation comes in front of you, you ask yourself this simple question: am I going to respond or am I going to react? Now, first you have to ask yourself, are you in first, second or third place? Because first place, as you already know, first place is when your mind's in that place where it's all about you. It means you're affected. Your emotions are high, and the words you say is, oh, how dare this happen to me? I can't believe this. Me. They're the words you use. Means you're emotional, and all you're concerned about is you. A very emotional place. If it's emotional negative, a negative word is going to come out. You're going to get angry and say angry words. You're going to get frustrated and do frustrating things. You're going to get judgmental and say judgmental things. You're going to get jealous and act jealously. So all these things lead to disaster. If you're in first place positive, unreal, love, fun, all that bit, you also got to be careful that you don't exaggerate your promises when you're in first place positive. Because when you're feeling good, you want to go, yes, I'm going to conquer the world, and you can't get out of bed the next morning. Second place is where, as you know, you're concerned about the other person. How's this going to affect them? Are they okay? Are you okay? How are they? They're not going to like this, so it's all about them. And third place is you're out of the situation looking back in it. You're looking at the situation for what it really is. As if you're a third place observer. What do other people see? You know, when you're outside looking into it, it looks silly. When you're in it, you're justifying it. You know, two people fighting. I was in the supermarket the other day and a couple having a big fight. And for his eyes, he's justifying, oh, you wouldn't believe how and she's going, you wouldn't believe that. For me, I'm looking at these two 50-year-olds having a full-on fight. Isn't it amusing? I should take a picture of this. Third place, it looks silly. Now, in a day or two's time, I look back at that situation, they'll probably think, geez, you wouldn't believe, I don't believe what I said. So if you're in that emotional place, I've got some clues for you. But if you have to ask yourself, am I going to react to it? How dare you? Or are you going to respond to it? Responding means you're providing a solution, not talking about the problem. Everything is solution-orientated. Positively is solution-orientated, not reacting. Reacting to it is talking about it, whinging about it, bitching about it, and sharing it. Here's a good piece of advice. Never share your problems with people who are not a part of the solution. Never share your problems with people who are not a part of the solution. How many people do you share your problems with? No one, because who's the only person who can solve it? You. So no one should know anything about your problems, because they can't solve them anyway. They share with people who are... Don't share it for therapy. People don't need that shit in their life. They start avoiding it. Every time they see you, they avoid this question. How are you? Because you just, out it comes. So every situation, am I going to react? Or am I going to respond? Respond, this is the best way. Respond means you take action to a solution that's going to head you towards your goal. Here's some things at the time that you can settle your emotions. Ways to settle your emotions is your vocabulary. Something challenging is happening, rather than it being stressful, we say, wow, isn't that fascinating? Isn't that fascinating? How I seem to catch the red lights, and some people in the traffic are so much in a rush, they get so angry they start swearing and abusing me. In fact, they create some fascinating faces when they're yelling at me. Wow, it's a fascinating situation I find myself in. Isn't that fascinating? I just lost $1.5 million in investments in one day. Isn't that fascinating? Great opportunity to start again. How good's that? And you know what? I won't do that again. Isn't that a great lesson? So that's responding. You respond future. Don't think about the past. Because the two things that people tend to get pretty stressed out about, they tend to suffer from depression, they get depressed, or they suffer from anxiety. Now, depression is one of the biggest ones at the moment. So this is what depression is. Depression is what you think of the past. Depression is all about the past. That past relationship, that bastard, that situation, how did that happen to me, so you get depressed. Anxiety is when you start to get stressed about the future. Oh, you get anxious. Oh, I've got this exam coming up. Oh, no, I've got this meeting coming up. Oh, no, I've got this assignment coming up. Oh, no, I've got this bill coming up. It's all about the future. So depression is about the past and anxiety is about the future. Here's a clue. Ready for this one? Live in the present. Because the only thing you can deal with is what's in the present. You can't change the past and you can't change the future. The only way you can change the future is what you do in the present. So if you're always thinking about the future, tomorrow, oh my God, oh, I've got so much work on, oh, I've got so much... You can't do anything. But if you start taking action now, what happens to that? It just sorts itself out. So the big challenge I feel that people do stressed about is things they have no control of, the future and the past. But you spend most of your time, I would say 80% of your thoughts should be in the present. I would say 15% in the future. Means your goals and where you're going, and 5% in the past, extracting the lessons. Let your past be your school, not your anchor. Past relationships, past experiences, past stresses, past bills, past poor actions, past embarrassments. Make them be your lessons for your future. It's your school. I've got lots to draw on in my school. There's lots of lessons I can dig up from somewhere. How cool is that? Means if I took the last 22 years of business experience and knowledge and lessons and put it all into the next year, where am I going to be in the next year? Huge, right? Change your vocabulary. It's fascinating. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? You know, someone comes on an annual path and starts throwing abuse at you. Isn't that fascinating? Sometimes they engage you, or try to engage you, into the argument. Don't get involved. Don't argue with an idiot, because then you've got two idiots arguing. And they'll win an experience every time. They've been doing it for a lot longer than you. Don't jump into their pot of emotion. Don't go into their ring. They'll beat you up. Stay out. Go, wow, hey, yeah. Oh. They may start to show stuff. They try to hook. Sometimes they try to hook you in, right? So go, what do you think? What do you think? So, isn't that fascinating? See, fascinating means you're out looking in. But if you say, isn't that frustrating? Guess where when you say the word frustrating, guess where you are? You're in it. If you start getting emotion, guess where you are? You're in it. So you've got to change your vocabulary. That'll get your mind out of it. Because being in it is just mental, by the way. You can be in a stressful situation mentally, and then you take it home. Imagine that. Imagine that, taking someone else's problems home into your home. Isn't that fascinating? Sometimes they get angry at you and they say, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. And you know what most people do? They try to argue. No, I'm not. You're a bigger idiot than me. Then you start saying, then you start to fight, right? And then you say, well, you did that. Here's one of the best ways to put a wet blanket over a situation when someone engages you in some idiot behaviour. Call me an idiot. Go. Say, Kman, you're an idiot. Go.
Kman, you're an idiot.
You know, you're probably right. Where'd you got to go from there? You can't argue with someone who agrees with you. And do I believe in what I said? Of course I do, because in his view, I am an idiot. So his perception is reality. So I agree with his perception. You know, you're probably right. Thank you so much for that. And I walk away. If you're curious, you may say, look, I'm just curious. Can you give me a list of reasons why you think I'm an idiot? Guess where I have to get their mind going now? From emotional to logic. And there's two things will happen. They'll either do this. They'll either go, well, it's just and there's no actually list. It's just emotion. Then you know they're just emotional. And you say, oh, okay, well, thank you for that. I'll take that on board. Great lesson learned. We're done. And you walk away and you know that you don't hang out with that person again. Yeah, you can move away from them. You're not a tree, right? You can avoid people. Or they'll come with a big list. Well, these are the reasons why you're an idiot. And you go, wow, I didn't realise. Thank you so much for that. And you could actually, there's a thread of truth in everything, by the way. You go, well, that's good. Even if there's no truth in it, it's a good opportunity to look at yourself anyway from the outside in. So I wonder why they think I'm an idiot. Rather than justifying to yourself that you're not an idiot. Just go, wow, be a great observer of human behaviour. Don't always get involved in it, in other people's emotions. You will drown. It's toxic many times. Change your vocabulary. How you respond. Sometimes don't respond. Well, thank you for that. Well, I think you're wrong. Great point. Well done. Thank you. What are they left with? They can't go anywhere. But don't engage in a situation that you want to be involved in. You'll lose. Put it into perspective. Whatever is happening, put it into perspective. How important is this really? Here's a great question to ask. In 6 months' time, will it really matter? In 6 months' time, will it really matter? If it doesn't, don't worry about it. Am I ever going to see this person ever again? No? Then don't worry about it. They're abusing you, you're never going to see them again. Let them take themselves home. Don't you take them home mentally. Don't bring other people home with you. Mentally. Someone can sometimes come along and ambush today. You take them home and they don't even remember who you are. Because they're just ambushers. That's what they do. They probably ambushed about 50 people that day and they don't remember them. Because you take them home, you're going, I wouldn't believe what this person said to me. How dare they say that to me? And they don't know what they do. Don't judge them. Just go with that's just who they are. I was doing a PT vow in Auckland just recently, and Robin, who comes from North Queensland, she was telling me the story, a true story, how a bloke used to brag how he has a pet crocodile in his back river. And he feeds a pet crocodile every morning. He's had this pet crocodile for 10 years. Goes there, feeds it, they've had stories in the newspaper and all sorts. So goes out there and he hand feeds a pet crocodile. It's an amazing story. And then one day he went out and fed the pet crocodile, and the crocodile bit his arm off. I said, that's what crocodiles do. Don't get upset about the crocodile. That's what crocodiles do. If you're delusional enough to think that you can tame a crocodile and get away for 10 years, there will be a day that it will just bite your arm off, because that's what crocodiles do. Don't get upset about the crocodile. So someone gets angry at you, don't get angry at them. They're just an angry crocodile. They're just an angry person. They go, you can believe that person. You can believe what they said. Oh. No, that's just who they are. Because people expose themselves in stressful situations. When they're stressed, then you see the real person. If they break down and cry, that's the real person. If they get up and get angry, that's the real person. If they get jealous, that's the real person. They're not the real person when everything's nice. Everyone can look beautiful under candlelight with the violin in the background on your first date. You've got to see what they're like first thing in the morning when they're grumpy. See them when they're hungover. See them when life is putting pressure on them. That's when true character is exposed. And you look at yourself when under pressure, how do you handle it? That's your true self. The true self is when you're under pressure. So when other people get angry, when the little bit of pressure has made them get angry, then you just go, okay, it's an angry person. Put it into perspective. Well, does it really matter? Is it life and death? Are you going to die from it? Is it going to ruin the rest of your life? Yeah. Money comes and goes. It's like the tide. I've walked away. I've lost so much money in my time. I've made so much money. I've made millions and millions and millions. I've lost millions and millions and millions. But it's only money. It's not blood. You know, if I was losing, as I was hemorrhaging blood, I'd be a little bit challenged. Someone asked me once, a business acquaintance down in Melbourne, she said, you know, so how do you feel about this? You know, you're going through these challenging times, you know. I said, well, Michael Schumacher put a bill for you once. He said, if you never crash, you never know how fast you can go. So if you don't push the boundaries, you never know what you can do. Name a climber who's never fallen. Name a footballer who's never been tackled. Name a footballer who's never dropped the ball. Stuffed up. But overall, they'll stuff up this, and because they stuffed up that, they become great. But the ones who play it safe never get anywhere. They live this little life, doing nothing, being nothing, and just existing. Sometimes is this a situation, pressure that I want that's taking me in the right direction? Don't get fooled into worried about little tiny things and other people's things. Other people, and there's many people to think, get worried about their things to justify their worry about their things, right? Because if they're worried about it, it must be okay. Put it into perspective. And you tend to learn that as you get older, by the way. Because as you get older, you realise you've got less time. So why do you major over these little tiny things that don't really matter at the end? Every situation, look for the positive. You can draw a positive out of anything. Wow, fantastic. I remember the night, the day when my first wife left with all the furniture and the big truck. So, how good's that? It was one of the best nights of my life that night. Took everything. Money, furniture. The only thing I dug up this old couch, little pink couch I had when I was a bachelor, little pink thing, ugly looking thing. Comfy though, ugly and comfortable. She had things which was pretty and uncomfortable. So it was New Year's Eve. Walked into the house by myself. No, I didn't do this. It was just like, how good's that? Walked in, empty house. Put the couch out, had a crate, had a bottle of bourbon, had a little TV with the little things on it, a little TV. New Year's Eve, and watched Jimmy Barnes. Brought the 2 puppy dogs in, set them on the couch. Come on the couch, off you go. On the couch. Come inside. See, we weren't allowed inside before. Come inside, sit on the couch. Mummy's gone. How good's that? Drinking the most magical night of my life. One of the most magical. I was just like, foot up on the couch. Oh. They were nagging at me. How good's that? Dog's been in ever since. I remember a friend of mine, Dr. J, came to stay at my place, and he was get to the night, and he says, are you going to put the dogs out? I said, mate, if I wanted the dogs to be outside, I would have bought a tree. No dogs live inside with me. They're my dogs. Would you put your children outside? Of course not. I'm not putting my dogs outside. Look for the positive in every situation. No matter what it is, you can find a positive out of it. It's a skill that can be developed. you may have had this negative thing. You start flicking it. Positive. Always look at the positive side. As I said, no matter what's happened in my life, I've always enjoyed every minute of it. It's just been fun. And sometimes the most fun times are when you're faced with a battle. Oh, how good is this? I have to pull a rabbit out of my bum on this one. Let's bring it on. How good's that? Because I'm going to expose myself and grow myself in this situation. Think positive. I think I'm not going to die from it. No, so why worry about it? I'm not going to die. It means I can get up. I can lose money. You can lose the money, but don't lose your confidence. Don't lose yourself. You can lose love, but don't lose your love for yourself. What people tend to do is let people take love from them. Never lose your love for yourself. Never lose your confidence in yourself, and your esteem for yourself, and your belief in yourself. And you become untouchable. And that's very attractive, that people want to hang out with that. If you find someone who appreciates that and they're on the same path, then it's a magical relationship. Positivity is a powerful magnet. Sometimes it attracts negativity. You understand that? Light sometimes attracts moths. That's why you got to get a little bug thing, a bug zapper. You got to identify the moth and avoid the moths. And you want to bleed off your enthusiasm and positivity. Sometimes when they're in that emotional state, you have to sometimes sit on it. So identify when a situation is making you emotional. Rather than committing to anything, then just say, I'll sit on that one for a while, I'll get back to you. So there's two times when you delay action. These are the only two times. Number one, when you don't have enough information to make a decision. Never make a decision unless you get all the information. Number two is when you're emotional. When you're emotional, never make a decision. Sit on it. In that sitting, you gather information or let your emotions settle. Because when your emotions settle, you start to see it from a logical point of view, not a emotional point of view. You start seeing it from a third place point of view, not a first place or second place. Any decision made in first and second place, you have to change the decision or live with the consequences, and then you end up resenting the decision. Any decision you make from third place, even if it is the wrong decision, you will never regret it. Because you made the decision based on everything you knew at the time. But anything from first place, you'd be kicking yourself. Second place, you want to be kicking the person you've been trying to take care of. The third place, that's all I can do. All I can do is what I can do with what I've got and what I know. Nothing more, nothing less. So they're the only times. You don't delay a decision just to procrastinate. Life will get past you in that one. So sometimes there's times to sit on it. Sometimes in the moment, it's time to get out of the kitchen. You just need to break away. I do it on a regular basis, mini breaks throughout the day. It means you just get out of the pot. Go for a walk. Get busy doing something else. When the office is down the Gold Coast, sometimes I'd walk into the office and it's like an ant's nest. And I'd walk in and everyone would go, Kman this and Kman that and Kman that. They'd be jumping on you. And I'd go, yeah, look, just give me a minute. And I'd walk out. I've just got to do something. I'd walk out and I'd go into Starbucks, sit down and watch the people pass by. Because that frenzy would just settle down by itself. And I'd just casually walk back in again and the atmosphere is just settled down. So I'd get out of the nest. Let the ants settle down. They know I'm here. They can settle down. They may start thinking solutions and then... But I'm not going to go, don't get trapped into other people's chaos. Sometimes just step out of it and let's just let the situation settle. Maybe might be just 5 minutes, might be 10 minutes, might be half a day. At home, my office is on the far end of our home. Rose's office is at the other end. That way I can never get trapped into some of her things and I can't trap her in my things. I said, that's a good thought. I'll get back to you. I'll go to my office. Go into my little cave. Things settle down. But that's just a structural thing at home, which I've worked out. So if you're always in someone's face, you end up annoying each other. But just at home, with an office, we can be in different places, and then we can join, go back. Mini breaks. Always get mini breaks. Do mini time-outs. Out of the kitchen when things start to get a bit hot. Let them cool down by themselves, and let you cool down by yourself. Get out of the kitchen. If you stay in there, you'll burn. You'll be fried. When you do make a decision, make a fast one. Don't procrastinate on it. Here's the simple ways to make a fast decision. A lot of people don't make decisions because they think they're fearful of the wrong decision. Well, first thing you have to do is identify what is the right thing to do rather than the easy thing to do. The right thing to do is the thing that's going to serve your goals, serve your purpose, serve who you are. See, the easy thing for me to do would be to stay in that past business and doing what I didn't believe in and keep taking the money. But there will be a slow death of spirit. Easy thing is to do is stay in a relationship which is dying anyway. It will die. It will just take a long time, and you may create more internal damage to yourself. The right thing to do is to break it now and not delay in a relationship breakup. As soon as possible. I'm waiting for the right time. There is no right time. There's just time. The time is now. The best time to do something was back then. The second best time to do something is now. Because every decision you make now, you thought about it back then, and that's when you probably should have done it. I know that with team players. You know, when I asked them to move on, why did I do that way back then? Oh, I hope they're going to work out. When you knew they weren't. This is delaying the decision. So sometimes the hard thing, it's hard to do, but it's the better thing. Break the relationship, move on from a career where you are, from the job that you're stuck in, move from a relationship. And in that term, there'll be short-term loss, but long-term gain. You may get short-term material loss, but long-term character gain. Because if you stay, you lose your character. If you go, you build your character. And the greatest thing you can ever have is your character. If you build your character, you attract opportunity. But if you lose your character, for the money, for the safety, for the security, for whatever it might be, then you will be less. It means you'll get less in the future. I'd rather go broke and lose everything than lose my character. Because my character will get my future opportunities. Who I am is who I am. I'm not what I own. I'm not what I own. So when you make that decision, here's a quick guideline. First of all, is if you're thinking about it, you have to make a decision. Many times, if you have to ask, you already know the answer. What do you think I should do? See, if you turn to your girlfriend and say, what do you think I should do about my boyfriend? You already know. You asked the question. Come on. You know what my answer is? You already know. Stop talking to me about it. Just do it. But I haven't told you anything. Well, you do know. Otherwise, you wouldn't be asking me the question. What should I do? First, number one is to get the facts. Set their minds, get the facts. Yeah, so you may have to delay to get all the facts. There might be some accusations, there might be some rumours, there might be some information going around, but as I said, don't believe everything. You've got to gather all the facts from both sides, not just this side, but from the source, the other side. Like a court of law, get all the facts from the opposition. You've got to share all the facts and make the right decision. Number one, get all the facts. From both sides, not just the person. Because when someone says to you, everyone's unhappy, you know what that means? I'm unhappy, and I want everyone else to be unhappy to justify my unhappiness. So when someone generalises like that, it's not the truth. It's a big exaggeration. When you got the facts, then you ask yourself this question: what's the worst case scenario? What's the worst case scenario? Will I die? Will I go broke? Will the relationship fall apart? What's the worst case scenario? Next step, this is the most important step. Accept the worst. Accept the worst. If you don't accept it, you fear it. If you fear it, you tread carefully in every action that you take. If you accept it, you step courageously. It's like a warrior going into battle with his sword and his shield. He's about to go into battle. He's fantastic in training skill, warrior training skill, Spartan training skill, swinging the sword. He's looking fantastic. Then he comes across the opposition and they got swords and he goes, I don't want to die. I'm a bit scared of death. Great skill, but scared of death. How's he going to swing the sword? Hesitantly. What will happen on the battlefield? He will die. If not from the opposition sword, but from his own sword, he'll fall on it. On the other hand, the other warrior accepts death. He finds death a great honour to die for his country, to die for his cause. I accept death. I don't fear death. Death is the greatest honour of all for the warrior. He approaches the battlefield, swings his sword. How does he swing the sword? With might and power. You don't fight someone like that who doesn't fear death. And a maniac didn't fear death. He didn't fear me at all. He just came in. He was half my size. Built like a stick. Whew. I'd have to kill him to stop him. And I don't want anybody to kill him. I walked away. So if you accept the worst case scenario, you no longer fear anything. How to get rid of fear out of your life is to accept the worst case scenario. You know, at that time, when that night when I told my first wife to F off, it got to that point where I didn't care. I accepted it was over. Now, blokes seem to do that, by the way. If you look at no blokes, when they make that decision, they get to that point of no return. There's a point of no return. That's where they say, I don't care. And generally, you can't bring him back after that. Nothing will bring him back because they've accepted this. Done. I'm gone. Because they've accepted it. Up until then, I didn't accept it. I can make this work. I can make this work. I can make this stuff. That won't work. This is done. I'm out of here. All the phone calls. Come back. Come back. Come back. Done. I'm now becoming different. I don't fear anything. So make a decision. Is that you? What's the worst case scenario? I accept I could lose my job. I accept I could lose all the money. I accept my business could go broke. I accept the relationship could fall apart. I accept it. I accept death. When you accept death, when you accept you've got cancer, you tend to beat cancer. When you don't accept it, you fear it. And fear it makes you anxious. And anxious actually feeds cancer, right? If you fear losing a relationship, you become insecure. You become insecure, you become jealous. You become jealous, you become needy. You start following yourself. Where you been? Where you been? Where you going? Who you having an affair with? Where you going? Nothing attractive about that. But if you accept how that could go, I accept that. But that's okay, because you can't take my love from me. It makes you more lovable. Accept. It's the strongest punch to do. But once you get hit on that one, nothing scares you. You lose what you fear. You lose what you fear. If you fear the marriage breakup, you lose the relationship. If you fear losing money, you lose money. If you feel ill health, you get ill health. If you fear it, you're thinking, oh, I hope I don't get sick, I hope I don't get sick, I hope I don't get sick. What do? You get sick. Because you're thinking about it all the time, because you're fearing it. It's the boogeyman under the bed. The boogeyman, the boogeyman, the boogeyman. Don't sleep at night, wait, the boogeyman. Because you fear something that's not even there, except there's a boogeyman there. When he comes up, I'll kill you, okay? Boogeyman won't come up. Once you accept that, then you ask yourself this question. Can't do anything about it. Is it in my control? A lot of people are getting all upset because the election's coming up. Well, you haven't voted. Yes, you can do something. But that's about it. There's 20 other million people voting. People get upset about things they have absolutely no control over. Well, climate change, you can do your bit. You know, you sit and how dare they do that, and how dare Gillard do that, and how dare do that. Okay, just observe it and go, I'll be a part of it. This is what I think. That's why I put my 2 cents worth in. But not going to get in drama. So if you don't have no control out of it, then just let it go. If you have no control of it, just let it go. If you have control of it, then do something with responsibility. Take positive action. Next step. Take action. Take action. Immediate action. And don't look back. When you take an action, the next step is to evaluate the outcome of that action. And if it's taking you to where you want to go, fantastic, keep doing it. If it didn't turn out the way you wanted, then go back to step number 1. Collect more information and go through the process again. And that way you're always going to be, most times, make the better, harder decision that will get you closer to your goals. And will be better for everybody. It will be better to leave a relationship, to free the person to find their real soulmate, than hanging on for something which is not going to work out. Because you know it's not going to work out because you're thinking about it. If you're thinking about it, you know it. Don't live a life in denial. You know if something's right. You know if it's right or wrong. The businesses that I have failed, I knew they weren't right, but I did them anyway. The relationships I had, I knew they weren't right, they didn't work anyway. You know. You've got to listen to yourself, your internal self, and making the decision. I said, well, let's see how it pans out. Well, 2 years can pass by and you waste your life, you waste someone else's life. You waste that time you can be putting into a new business, into a new cause, a new purpose, a new charity, a new person, a new opportunity. But you're wasting it trying to, revive a dead seagull. It's dead. It's dying. It's hemorrhaging. Nothing you can do to save it. Let it go. Let it die in peace so it can go to the cloud above there and live a new life. They'll be saying, why do you keep me down there for so long? Make a fast decision. The more decisions you make in life, the greater life you're going to have. And some of those things, they're going to not turn out and people get stressed about them. But as soon as you take a new decision, the past decision's now history, right? That stress is now gone because you've gone on to another one. Direct your emotions. Attack the problem, not the person. Attack the problem, not the people. Don't shoot the messenger. Don't shoot the person. Don't try to fight the crocodile. The problem is I put myself in front of a crocodile. The problem is I actually believe that a crocodile could be a pet. Don't blame the crocodile. When Steve Irwin got killed, he wouldn't say go out there and kill all the sea life because they killed me. The problem was him. What do you expect when you jump on the back of a man or you can stick a knife in you? But he knew that. Direct your emotions towards the goals. Don't live in the land of blame and excuses. We focus all that energy towards the wrong place. The person, yourself. Why did I do that? Why did I do that? Why did I do that? What are you doing? Beat yourself up. Let me ask you this question. If your best friend came, you haven't seen for a while, they came to you and they said this to you. You bloody stupid idiot. What were you thinking, you stupid bum? You're just such an idiot. Would you hang out with that person? Yes or no? No. Then why do you speak like that to yourself? You trip over something. Oh, you dumb idiot. Why do you say that internally to yourself always? Who says that? Right? Beat yourself up internally. Why did I do that, you idiot? Guess what? If you keep telling yourself that, guess what you become? An idiot. Because you're feeding your subconscious mind. So get you those emotions, are powerful emotions. Now whether those emotions are revenge or fear or emotions of... Direct those fearful emotions into... That's what champions do. Of course they get scared. Of course they get fearful. But they direct it towards what they want. They don't run the other way. They're directed towards the swinging of the sword, not hiding in the bushes. Direct your emotions towards the better cause that's going to serve you and everyone else. Do other stuff. Other stuff. We call them distractions of interest. One of the best ways to settle the body physically is exercise. That's what hunters and gatherers used to do. So if you're getting stressed, go and do exercise. You should be exercising every day anyway, but sometimes you really need it. Punching the bag, lifting the weights, running around, and run outside and connect with nature and that if that's your thing. I love running outside rather than inside because outside I feel like I've actually experienced something in the day. I've connected somewhere to nature. So exercise, might be Tai Chi, might be yoga. Understand that's relaxing, to relax the muscles and stretch the muscles. Physical exercise to burn off the energy. Doing some other interests, painting, crafts, reading books, meditation. I love going to movies. I love movies because my mind can just click off when I get involved in a great movie. Go on holidays, regular holidays, on a regular basis. Should have 2 big holidays a year, in my view. When I first set up my holiday plan, there was 1 local holiday and 1 overseas holiday every year. I think you should have a weekend away once a month. Just away with the people who are special, with you, just by yourself. Or with the boys. Just to break it up. Get involved in other stuff. Because when you're thinking about other stuff, you're not thinking about the other stuff. You know what I mean? It takes that. Well, I want everyone here to think of the Sydney Opera House. So everyone think of the Sydney Opera House, think of the Sydney Opera House. At the same time, I want you to think of the biggest challenge in your life at the moment. But don't stop thinking about the Sydney Opera House. Thinking about the Sydney Opera House. Who finds it hard to think about both? So the mind can only do one thing at once. Now, females have the ability to go back and forth faster than men. Right? But if you focus on one thing, it tends to stop you thinking from something else. So it just lets the emotional dust settle over there while you attach something which is something more emotionally more settling, more positive, more calming, whatever it might be. Physical relieving. So what are the day-to-day, the week-to-week, the month-to-month strategies that you're going to put into your life to distract yourself over these other things? That's, prepare yourself, bit of rest out, half time, whatever it might be, walk around the block, physical stretching, massage, whatever it might be, that's going to help you. When you get back onto the field, then you're charged and ready, not drained and tired. If you've been thinking about it all night, by the time you get to the field, you're tired just thinking about it. I used to lay down in my boxing and just lay and think about nothing. Why? Because why do I think about something I can't do anything about? I start thinking about it as I'm walking into the ring. I've already done research on the boxing previously, but I'm going to conserve my energy, and when that bell goes, I'm on fire. But I don't fire myself up an hour beforehand. You get tired. Get tired doing that. Do other stuff. Number 12, have fun and live life to its maximal potential. As far as I know, you only get one shot at it. How much fun are you having? Laughter is a great tool. When was the last time you had a gut-wrenching laugh? I'd say I have a gut-wrenching laugh every day, regularly, with my partner. We always laugh about stuff. And if you're not, I'll start doing stuff to make us laugh. Life's too short to take it that serious. It's not that serious. It really isn't. The measurement of your life is not going to be in a materialistic thing. It's going to be more in a spiritual thing. It's not what you achieve; it's what you leave behind. So what you do for your kids is what you leave in your kids. Have fun. Kids remember their parents laughing. I know that. Parents are playing, wrestle and all sorts of stuff. They remember that because they're having fun. So think of ways you can add fun into your day. Just do outrageous things. Sometimes I just break out and dance. We always play music in the mornings. Break out and do my moonwalk, and Worrier has a laugh, I have a laugh. You don't wait for someone else to make you laugh. Make yourself laugh. What if they don't laugh? Make yourself laugh. Yeah. Imagine that, relying on other people to laugh, for you to laugh. Keeps you young. And live everything. Take advantage of every opportunity. Sometimes there's challenges. Well, this is an opportunity. Say yes to more stuff. Wow. And approach it with a smile. No matter what, if you have to go through the shit, you mostly go through it with a smile. It goes a lot faster when you're laughing through the shit rather than begrudging the shit. You have to take the bin out, take it out with a whistle. Not, oh God, why do I have to do this? You have to do the silent, do it with a smile. Not, oh God, why do I have to do this? You're going to do it anyway. So you must have fun doing it. Like, Roy and I do all sorts of things when you line up in lines. I remember her greatest one was we were lining up for the Empire State Building. We were in New York. And massive line. So we're sort of doing scissors, paper, rock and all sorts of stuff. And we said, let's come up with some new games. And everyone's watching us do scissors, paper, rock on the line. They thought we were weird. And Roy comes with this great game. Scissors, paper, we do it with the fingers, then we do the body. He says, okay, you see, what's this? This is the game. On the count of three, you go 1, 2, 3, and the person who throws out the highest number wins. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then you realise there's something wrong with this game. We're always at top. So ever since then, guess what I keep bringing up? Ready for our game? 1, 2, 3. Yeah? What a magical moment. And you can bring that into the future when you need to break things up a bit. And I'll give you an extra one. Surround yourself with positive, supporting people. Don't rely on it. Don't rely on it. See, there's one thing I've learned about trust in my life. There's only one thing you can trust. Is your own ability to handle any situation that comes before you. Don't ever leave your trust in other people. Unfortunately, you will probably go through lots of disappointments. And unfortunately, when you do that, you may get to that sour place where you don't trust people. I observe people. What I do trust is my own ability to handle any situation. So no matter what happens, if someone who's closest to me does something which comes across as not so nice, I go, well, that's interesting. But I never let you rate me of my confidence or trust, because I trust me no matter what. And I can walk away and you can walk away. There's 6 billion people on the planet. I'm not going to put my whole life in your hands. So make sure the stresses in your life aren't the people in your life. Make sure the stresses in your life are not the people in your life. And if they are the people in your life, best you remove them from your life. Or avoid them. Change house without letting them know. Sometimes it changes when they're family, but that's all right. I've got breakfast with my old man tomorrow, so I see him in small dosages. But I always make him laugh. He starts whinging about stuff, and all of a sudden I just come up with some left field thing, make him laugh, and he just starts laughing. You know what I used to do? I used to listen to him. Isn't that fascinating? I used to listen to his whinging and bitching. Oh, and now I just go, he says he's got some leaky eye at the moment. Just eye things. He's 86 years of age, he's going through all sorts of stuff. And he goes, hey, yeah, now on the phone. Oh, my bloody eye, it's all leaking. Oh, so are you still wearing the eye patch, Maisie, my pirate? You're still wearing the eye patch. And all of a sudden he starts cracking himself laughing. Everyone else listens to him, but I just make him laugh. So his eyes all dribbling, he's had operations and all sorts of stuff. He says, well, you look really sexy with an eye patch, aren't you? And before I know it, he's getting involved in it. But you sometimes have to initiate it. Because he certainly won't, because he's famous for all that great movie he made, Grumpy Old Man. He's a lovable grumpy old man, but he can really get you if you let him. I don't let him. I just change the atmosphere of the conversation. And by the end, we're just having a good old chat. He rings up wanting to have a bitch to me, mostly about me. By the end, we're having a good old laugh, but he doesn't get that from other people in his life, but he gets it from me. So surround yourself with people who see you at your worst and still love you. You know, Rose seen, the worst I've seen, and not an eye batter, whether it be money or whatever. She goes, yeah, okay, that's interesting, we can deal with this. And dogs. Always have a dog. Dogs love you no matter what. You don't buy a dog for the love, but sometimes it's good to just have someone there who just accepts you for who you are. So Mickey Rourke, when he won the Golden Globes, everyone saw it. Mickey Rourke, he went through in his life in drugs, and his career went down the toilet hole until he was pulled out into the movie The Wrestler, and he got a Golden Globe Award. And there's only one person he thanked in his speech. He says, when I was going through the shit, and everyone abandoned me because I was no longer famous. And I remember that you were my friend when I think was going well, but you deserted me when I was not going so well. But there's only one person who never left my side. And that was my dog. And so I'd be sitting there all by myself waiting for the phone to ring, and no one called me, no one cared, because I was no longer the Mickey Rourke famous. But my dog. When I'm sitting there, I relate to that. I'm there with my bourbon watching Jimmy Barnes with my two dogs, and I'm going, this is just fantastic. And if you can have a person who has that unconditional love for you without judgment, then that's a special place to be. There's not many, but when you get it, it's really special. And the rest are acquaintances. So surround yourself with people who don't judge you, who accept you for who you are, let you maintain your independence in your own unique way, but more importantly, love you for your imperfections. Because true love is not based on the perfections, it's the imperfections. When you love someone for the imperfections, then that's the perfect person. The warts and all. Not just for the glamour, or the fame or the reputation, but for the true person that you are. First thing in the morning, the bed hair, the hangover, when you're sick, all that stuff. And I love you more for it. And you do something which is, weird. They go, wow, I love your weirdness. Everyone else thinks it's weird, and they love you for it. Everyone else is judging it, and they find it amusing. Puts you in a good place. Protect yourself from other people by loving yourself. And it doesn't really matter. What other people think of you is none of your business anyway. Thank you for a fantastic night. Hopefully there's some great things you got out of that which you can take and implement into your day, into your week, into your relationship.